can't click on. We're here, guys, but I cannot click on the program. I can't switch over. Wait a minute. Let me try something here. Let me see if that'll do it. No, there it goes. All right. Welcome back to Resistance Chicks, where technical malfunctions are always a probability.
Oh no, guarantee.
Guarantee, Alan. That's much better. Today is February 16th, 2018. I don't think I've made that mess up. All year long, it's 2018, in case you weren't aware. We have a lot of things that we want to cover today, but I think we should start out with...
Two main things. A few hours ago, I'm on Twitter, and I'm seeing all this stuff about Mueller indicting 13 Russian troll farm people who actually posted information on both sides of the aisle. And what everybody keeps saying is that they wanted to sow discord. I think they were just trying to get hits.
Yeah, probably.
This is what we call management. This is what we call advertising. Mm-hmm. You go on, you play both sides because it's interesting as clickbait.
Right.
And honestly, at RTE, they have a wide range of people and who think different things.
Correct.
So somebody writes one thing and somebody writes another thing.
Right.
And I think the biggest question is, when will they indict George Soros for trying to meddle
in everyone's politics?
Elections? He out and out says he has was almost a third of, or 2/3 of the EU in his pocket, pretty much.
Yeah, and we've covered that video that Nigel quotes. I think it was like 200 and some odd MEPs that he does have in his pocket.
So we're going to get to this indictment and the Russian trolls and what Julian Assange has to say about that, and what Julian Assange has to say about Hillary Clinton, which is even funnier. It's pretty funny. But we definitely need to update the Florida shooting.
Right.
2 days ago, this young man, possibly an accomplice, we don't know, possibly... I fully believe that the FBI and the deep state, they get a hold of these kids and they train them, and and they do this because they want gun control, because the only way that you can really take over a country is to grab everyone's guns. And that's what's happened in Venezuela. It's what's happened in China, even communist Russia, even in Germany, for different reasons. Leaders say we need to take all the guns.
Right. Well, the narrative, and I want to kind of hash out as we talk about the updates, I also want to talk about this whole gun grab that is happening, because I'm sure that you guys have seen it on your social media pages. I have seen it on mine. All of my normally sane friends that would not speak up are now... I
just have to speak out. We have
to have gun control. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys really took the bait. They absolutely took the bait for this, and it's heartbreaking to me.
And, you know, somebody had said that Donald Trump might put AR-15s on the table, but I do want to read to you from, you know, the national shooting, what do they call it? There's people do shooting for fun. They do it for sport. And it's no different than race car driving.
Recreational.
I mean, imagine if a race car driver could just, if he went crazy and he just started ramming people. I mean, seriously, that's what I said to a friend of mine. She's like, I'm torn because I believe in the Second Amendment, but what about this AR-15? It's a semi-automatic, blah, 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 blah. And I said, we really need to think about what other things people use to kill people.
Right.
The guns, like we talked about, don't jump up and kill people. Cars actually can malfunction and kill people. Cars do kill people on their own.
Every single day. I mean,
my
mom hates cars. Like, she wishes we could go back to horses and buggy, because I think this past week I've heard of like 3 or 4 wrecks just in our area that have been fatal. There was an entire family and the person that was driving the vehicle and his, I don't know, spouse, I'm assuming. Anyway, she dies. The family of 4 with a little infant, they all die in a car wreck.
Well, recently,
why isn't anybody up in arms like, you know what, maybe the speed, I'm not trying to change the speed limit, but my thinking is the outcry should be as equal, but because every single person in the world, practically, especially in the United States, has to have a car to get around, and they are not willing to give up
even
this
if people die.
luxury, even if people die, that's why there's not an outcry.
Right.
And that's the difference.
Right, we could go back
selfishness.
to horse and buggies, and I got to tell you,
and I would be down with it. I would take, if I needed to go to
Horses.
California, I would be down. I would take my horse and buggy, you know, make your little roads, whatever. It takes, 3, 4, 5 weeks? I don't know how long it would take. Maybe longer, a month. I have no idea. But my point is, I would do that. I would be willing to get rid of all cars. Yeah, I know we're crazy, but I would be willing to do it because it's not worth it. It's totally not worth it, but there's no outcry because it's a convenience.
Police were called to this Florida shooter's home at least 36 times since 2010. Most people don't get a police call once.
I don't think the police have ever come to our house.
I might say,
except for to tour our garden.
I would actually, if he had said, if this had said maybe the police were called once, I would still question it. Twice, 36 seems like a number that's unreal. 36 times in 8 years.
That's incredible. Now, I want to also dispel some questions that I had seen in the chat, in the comment section on our last video that we did covering this on Valentine's Day. And that is about, where are his parents? Where were his parents? His dad died some time ago. Many years ago.
Well, he's adopted. First of all, he's adopted, and his dad died several years ago,
and his mom died 3 months ago.
Or his adopted mom died
3
recently.
months ago.
So he was living with a friend's parents.
Yeah.
So
he's already going to be on the tipping point of mental.
So in September 2016, authorities responded to a 911 call from his mother, Linda Cruz, but they reported they saw no signs of mental illness or criminal activity and left without incident. And these police reports uncovered by BuzzFeed shed further light on the narrative that Cruz suffered from mental illness, including ADHD, OCD, and that consistent warning signs over his disturbing behavior may definitely have been missed. And so you have a video, and Jeff Sessions is actually calling for an investigation into Sessions orders the review after the FBI says it missed the Parkland tip. So we told you this, I believe we told you this before, that there was a guy with a YouTube account.
I don't think we told him.
And he, somebody with the name Nicholas Cruz, commented and said,
the guy was covering a school shooting. I'm doing a video on it.
I'm going to
do shootings.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a shooting like this.
Now, the guy that had the channel did something that I'm not sure. Maybe now I would. But prior to this, I'm not sure that I would have. And he reported it to the FBI.
Right.
Now, the FBI at the time they're claiming that at the time they just didn't have a way to track down this user. And I'm thinking to myself,
that's absolutely insane. You can track Russian trolls halfway across the world, but you can't Google a Nicholas Cruz, because if you Googled his name, he has an Instagram, he had social media accounts
that would have tipped, because there are a couple of different Nicholas Cruz out there, but these things would have tipped you off. Okay, that's probably the person that made this comment, but I think they can also follow URLs and things like that. Right. They can go to YouTube.
You can find, dude, it's the NSA has spying capabilities. They can find out your IP address. They can find out everything. If he has created a YouTube account, they can find out where he is.
Yeah.
They can track the computer. I mean, it's absolutely unreal. And so the question is, why are they spending so much time on the Russia investigation, which is fake,
right,
when this was a real credible threat? So Jeff Sessions is actually, Attorney General Jeff Sessions ordered a review today into how the Justice Department and the FBI respond to indications of potential violence after the Bureau said it failed to act on a tip about the shooter. Now, the guy whose account he called the FBI, he got a visit from them the next day. And then after the shooting happened, they visited him again. He still didn't have any information from to give them, but still,
I would have been like, we talked about this before, right?
But what they did was they had to have a database to put in the name. We have a tip, and then he flags it, and it's a tip. I'm like, seriously, it's like the Stone Age if the FBI couldn't follow this through.
I was at the gym with my uncle today, and they obviously have all the big screens up, and it's always hilarious to me the different things that I see, and I see CNN coming up, and it says, I can't hear them because you can't unless you plug like earbuds in, but I can read the headlines, and it's breaking that the school teachers were notified and warned about this student ahead of time. And I thought to myself, CNN, this was today. That's not exactly breaking. We all knew that on Wednesday when this happened. Somehow you're just slow and lagging. So we knew that the teachers in the schools, they all knew the kid was not allowed to be on the school with a backpack.
He was expelled from 2 schools.
Right.
And he actually was expelled from that school. I don't know what school. I have not figured out what school he was attending. However, I did read that the family that he was living with, when he slept in, he said...
On Wednesday morning.
He said, it's Valentine's Day and I'm not going to go to school. So he was still some sort of student. Now, get this. The information that was given to the FBI, actually on January 5th.
Right.
This wasn't a year ago or 2 years ago. This was really recent. The FBI did not do anything about it. It says the information was not provided to the Miami field office, and no further investigation was conducted at that time. And so Florida Governor Rick Scott actually called on the FBI Director Christopher Wray to resign.
That's a pretty big deal.
That is sure to raise further questions about whether the FBI could have prevented the shooting. And so obviously we are all told to go to our police if we see something.
Yep.
But if they're not going to do anything with the information we give them,
it makes it so no one wants to report anything because most people don't want to be the tattletale. Most people, because what if it turns out that it's not true and it's nothing, and then you've and as kind of a libertarian, I don't really like the idea of meddling into people's lives, and so I can understand why people wouldn't want to report this. But it's
in addition to the YouTuber. I'm just reading this because I thought it was the same person. Get this. This January 5th contact is not the YouTuber. This is a person, says the FBI, the caller provided information about Cruz's gun ownership, his desire to kill people, the erratic behavior, his disturbing social media posts, as well as the potential of him conducting a school shooting.
Right.
Somebody close to Cruz called the FBI.
Right.
But the FBI was too busy playing around, covering their tail, texting about Donald Trump, having affairs. Our FBI is a wreck.
Well, it's
a mess.
Allow me to throw a little wrench into that spoke. They're claiming that I think at this point, this is my humble...
No, they let it go through. They're like, you know what? This would be really good if he did do it, so we're just going to back off.
This is my humble conspiracy theory.
Truth.
Truth,
baby, truth.
Hang on, you don't even know what I'm going to say.
Because I love you, and I know it's the truth.
All right. I really believe that they knew exactly what he was going to do.
I knew you were going to say that.
They knew that this was going to happen. I think that they knew that it was imminent. I think they had done plenty of research on this kid. I think they knew exactly what he was going to do.
I knew you were going to say that.
And that's why they had these drills a month ago. Because it falls right into
Do you see what is happening here? Do I need to explain it any better than that? I could say it again. I will say it again. Okay? Did you understand what she just said? She just put it all together for you. They had drills a month ago. Okay? They had Secret Service people there, didn't they?
Yeah, it was FBI.
FBI people there. They knew the boy was going to do this. Okay? And they were hoping he would do this. Because then they could grab your guns and my guns.
I'm really curious if maybe all of you who are parents in our chat could just ask your kids, have they had any, training for mass shootings at their school, wherever you live in the United States? I would like to hear if you guys or if your children have had any training for mass shootings recently. I'm curious how often this happens.
Dude, this is beyond conspiracy. This is Sandy Hook all over again.
And ask them if they know whether the FBI was there for the training, because usually From what I understand, the research that I have done, it's the local authorities when they are going to prep students for mass shootings. It's always just the local authorities. Are you telling me that the FBI steps in? Because I didn't know we were paying the FBI to train. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. Let's do it. To train students all over America, every single school, for mass shootings. I didn't know the FBI was down with that. Did you? Were you aware that the FBI was going into schools all over America? Because they're not. They knew exactly what was happening. They knew, they went, they did a little prep so that they could have a dry run. And the fact that it happened within a month.
The fact that they didn't, the FBI didn't pull this guy aside. Talk to him. You guys, this is why they didn't visit him. This is why. If this guy literally called, this person called the FBI, this is new, I'm sorry, this is new information to me because I brought up this article because I thought I was going to read a different article. And I'm reading this information. I thought we just had the YouTuber. This is beyond what I can, I mean, I don't know what to do with this. The FBI were given who he was. They should have cross-checked it with the other Nicholas Cruz saying, I'm going to do the shooting on the YouTube, right? Because the name's in the database, right? It's actually not a super common name, Nicholas with a K, Cruz. So it's like, you can narrow it down. It's like that game, Guess Who? Start knocking them down, right?
Yep.
Gun ownership, desire to kill people, erratic behavior, disturbing social media posts, as well as the potential of him conducting a school shooting. He said, hey, listen, I think this guy's crazy. I think he could probably do a school shooting. You might want to check this guy out. And the FBI's like, the FBI didn't even pass on that information to the Florida FBI
All right,
Bureau.
so let's go to this link that I have here. There's a video and a link, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and... I
want to spend the whole time just Muellering that over.
You're funny. All right, let's go here. Hopefully we'll have volume.
Just a few weeks ago, the FBI was told all about Nicholas Cruz, from his gun ownership to his desire to kill people to the potential of him conducting a school shooting. Perhaps if they'd looked, they would have discovered this footage taken by a former neighbor and said to show Cruz practicing taking shots in his yard last year. The potential killer that Cruz wasn't investigated, and the mass murderer he became caused terrible sorrow in Florida. The president is on his way there tonight to meet with people whose lives, he says, have been totally shattered. 17 students and staff members were killed at Stoneman Douglas High School, among them 14-year-old Elisa Al-Hadef, who was laid to rest today. Her mother has made a desperate plea.
President Trump, you say, what can you do? You can stop the guns from getting into these children's hands!
The staff and students who survived the massacre did so by hiding in corners and cupboards. Cookery teacher Ashley Kurth had nearly 70 children in her classroom while the shooting went on in the corridor.
I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and I have in-laws that hunt and stuff like that, and to me, I don't understand the need for anybody to ever own or have a semi-automatic or an automatic weapon with high magazines.
Outside school today, she was reunited with two of her pupils, Hannah, who survived the attack, and her sister, Caitlin. Even in their trauma, they are not as convinced as their teacher of the need for gun control.
He obtained the weapon legally, but if he hadn't got it legally, he still would have ended up getting it illegally. Criminals will do things that they need to be criminals.
Just because you put a ban on something is not going to stop people from getting it. They put a ban on alcohol a long time ago, and people were still drinking alcohol.
While the political debates thrown up by this tragedy are depressingly familiar, the question of why law enforcement didn't act on warnings it was given hangs over America's latest mass shooting.
So seriously, they could grab everyone's guns, or they could literally just check this guy out.
And that's the thing that really bothers me. Let me switch this back over here.
You could shut that if you want. You must not.
That bothers me with this narrative that you're hearing pushed. Now, I was really impressed with this news media outlet. I felt like they were
fair and balanced.
Well, I don't think it was exactly balanced, but I think it was as close as you're going to get.
Yeah.
But you noticed that they got somebody in there that says, listen, I'm all for it. My family hunts. But I don't know if you guys noticed it. I'm sure that people like Chris in the chat did. But she says, I don't see a reason for anybody to ever have semi-automatic or automatic weapons with high-powered magazines.
I love how she put them in the same thing. Like
you just put semi-automatic weapons into the same category as automatic weapons. So you do understand that for a semi-automatic weapon, you have to pull the trigger for every single shot fired. Okay? It's not the same thing. I mean, it's literally not the same thing. And so the fact that she lumped that in that category puts it into people's minds that they are the same thing. Now, I don't know if you wanted to read.
Well, here, I have up from the, I want to explain the AR-15 to people.
And that's exactly what I was going to
ask you. So, the modern sporting rifle based on the AR-15 platform is widely misunderstood. Why? Confusion exists because while these rifles may cosmetically look, I don't know if you can tell people we own one. Yeah, so it does look like a military weapon. It's actually not very pretty, and I don't like it the way it looks. I feel like it's just like I think it looks drab. I mean, if you're going to use something, it's kind of plain, in my opinion. It doesn't say, oh, this is a great, piece of equipment. However, it looks like a military rifle, but it doesn't function as a military rifle. Also, groups wanting to ban these rifles have for years, purposefully or through ignorance, spread misinformation. This AR-15 is widely used. It's widely accessible. It is accessible, okay? But like those teenagers said, if it's not an AR-15, they'll find something else. Gang members are killing people with just handguns, and you can get a lot of them, and just bang bang bang, just shoot them out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like seriously. I just kept reading because I'll trip over my words here. The National Shooting Sports Foundation asks you to be an informed gun owner. All right. Remember that if AR-15 style modern sporting rifles are banned, your favorite traditional looking hunting or target shooting semi-automatic firearm would probably be banned too. It's the same. They have the same function. They have the same action. They look more like a hunting rifle,
right?
Than what an AR-15 looks like. Okay, so
when you shoot an AR-15, I got to tell you something. If you fire a shotgun and you're not ready for it, just a shotgun, just a hunting, you guys are allowed to have them in the UK, just a hunting shotgun, okay, depending on the gauge. 12 gauge shotgun is gonna give you a really good, I have seen some girls try to fire 12 gauge shotguns, and man, it's embarrassing, but they are really, really powerful. When you fire an AR-15, you don't get that. It's not at all. I wish we had some videos that we could pull up of people just shooting AR-15s. It's not at all what people think that it is. There's some sort of amazing, super high-powered. Somebody had left in the comments here, I think on our Facebook Live, there are so many different types of semi-automatic weapons. The AR-15 is not the only one. Oh my gosh, people are so uneducated.
Here's the thing: you can take a
9mm. But see, they want to ban those too. But when people see the AR-15, which, okay, I'm going to totally butcher this, but this is Michelle's girl basic understanding. This is the way that I view it. But the AR-15 gives you the same power as, like, let's say a 9mm with more accuracy because it's a rifle. Okay, and we historically as people understand rifles. They give you the long distance, so it gives you the distance and the accuracy.
They want us to be,
as opposed to, but it's still the exact same, like semi-automatic. It just kind of loads it. It loads it chambers the next round very, very quickly.
And AR-15 platform rifles are among the most popular firearms being sold. They are today's modern sporting rifle. I actually have a girlfriend of mine friend who's a girl, and she actually shoots in competitions with an AR-15 type gun. She's pretty good. The AR, an AR-15 rifle stands for Era Light Rifle. after the company that developed it in the 1950s, AR does not stand for assault rifle or automatic rifle.
Like people think that it does.
The AR style rifles are not assault weapons or assault rifles. An assault rifle is fully automatic. Machine gun, automatic firearms have been severely restricted since 1934. If someone calls an AR-15 style rifle an assault weapon, he or she either supports banning these firearms or does not understand their function and their sporting use, or both. Please correct them. Assault weapon is a political term used by California anti-gun legislators to ban some semi-automatic rifles there in the 1980s. AR-15 style rifles look like military rifles, such as the M16, but function like other semi-automatic civilian sporting firearms, firing only one round with each pull of the trigger.
Bang, 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 bang. You'd have to have a really fast trigger finger to get that thing to go.
Yeah, and versions of modern sporting rifles are legal to own in all 50 states, provided the purchaser
Listen to this though. This is what no, don't read that slowly. Read it the way that it was written there.
The purchaser passes the mandatory FBI background check required for all retail firearm purchases. So, at what point, if Nicholas Cruz, what if he had been flagged by the YouTube comment?
Right.
And
so the ball that was dropped here
is that the FBI
is not in gun ownership. These two students, the female students that we just got to hear from a minute ago, like Leah said, are far more intelligent than their teacher. When alcohol was banned during Prohibition, people still got it. You're gonna and what's more, you're gonna have a thing called gun running within the United States that's far worse than what you're seeing for automatic weapons. I know for a fact people that want these weapons are going to get these weapons. So if you ban them, then you're going to create some sort of underground, and then people are going to become like hungry and desperate for it. But one thing, and I don't have the stats here with me, but gun ownership in the United States has gone down significantly within the past 30 years.
Right.
And mass school shootings have gone up significantly within the past 30 years.
They used to actually have firearms in schools and teach
proper firearm use.
They used to have gun class. You could just literally in school, you bring your gun to school, you bring your gun into school, and you have shooting practice in schools, and nobody shot anybody. Nobody. All right, so since the 19th century, civilian sporting rifles have evolved from their military predecessors. The modern sporting rifle simply follows that tradition. These rifles' accuracy, reliability, ruggedness, and versatility serve target shooters and hunters well. They are true all-weather firearms. Chamberings include a 22, a 223, a 6.8, and a 308, and a 45. Bushmaster, and about a dozen others. Upper receivers for the pistol caliber, such as 9mm, 40 and 45, and even there are even 41s, shotgun versions. These rifles are used for many different types of hunting. From
410. You meant 410.
410. Sorry, 41, 410. Sorry, thank you. From varmint to big game, and they're used for target shooting in the national matches. The AR-15 style rifles are no more powerful than other hunting rifles of the same caliber, and in most cases are chambered in calibers less powerful than common big game hunting cartridges, like the 30-06 Springfield and the is it the 30 or 300 Win Mag? The AR-15 platform is modular. Owners like being able to fix different uppers and lowers. So, Kansas shot a gun from World War II.
A Ruger.
What was that? What was that caliber? It blew up our whole...
it was a German
target thing.
Not Ruger. Luger. What is it? What do they call... Where is he? Is he here?
It blew... It's like, seriously, if you are shot... And they're legal, right? If you're shot with this gun, your body blows up to pieces. I have never seen a weapon of this magnitude and this power before. I think he actually got it stuck after that. But I couldn't believe. No, we shot a couple, and it blows everything up. So whatever that one was, it's still legal. We bought the bullets. The gun's still legal. It's from World War II. But anyways, the FBI wanted this to happen. and they wanted to take your guns away.
I think he's not here.
He went to the bank. Let me just play for you a clip here from our favorite, Tucker Carlson, with volume. And we'll make this loud.
What is the German gun? It's the German gun. Did somebody already say what it is?
No, it wasn't the German gun. It wasn't the German gun because we still have
a Mauser. Thank you, Stacy. It was a Mauser. And yes, it was German. With the scope.
I don't think that was the one that shot. No, because that one, it actually had to take it apart. That one's in pieces. I have to ask him when he gets back.
Tipped off in a way that a YouTube commenter was discussing.
We got one of those. We got one of those too. That one's intact still.
And how did the FBI respond?
They responded pretty immediately. I had a field agent contact me and meet me at my office the very next morning, and unfortunately I wasn't able to provide them with much.
Well, you gave them the user's name, right? Which is the same exact name as the shooter.
I'm sure had more time and effort been put into finding out who the username belongs to, if that's even possible. I don't know how many Nicholas Cruzes there are on YouTube, but they would have been able to find out who this person was.
But as you heard, the FBI was not able to identify Cruz.
Are you at the bank?
In 2017,
okay,
the FBI
call me back
received
later. I want to
information
ask you a question
about a
on air.
comment made on a YouTube channel. The comment simply
bye.
said, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." No other information was included with that comment, which would indicate a time, location, or the true identity of the person who made the comment. The FBI conducted database reviews, checks, but was unable to further identify the person who actually made the comment.
Ron Hosko is a former FBI assistant director here in Washington, and he joins us tonight. Ron, thanks for coming up.
My pleasure.
What happened here, do you think?
You know, I think that at first blush, I think the FBI worked within its guide.
Hang on. Okay, you're on speakerphone. Okay, so what was the gun that we fired when we went shooting last summer with our friend?
That blew everything up.
That blew everything to pieces. What was that gun?
It was a 30-06, I believe.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, so, but that wasn't, and didn't you fire the German gun?
No, we don't have the rounds for that.
Okay,
they
so
don't make rounds.
They don't make rounds for that one?
Well, they're hard to get in the States, I guess.
Okay, but the 30-06 is the one that we felt would have, like, taken down a zombie?
Yeah, they're considerably bigger than a 223.
So the question is, this young man had an AR-15, which I think actually only chambered a 22 from what So What said. I could be wrong about that, but I need to look that up. So in your humble opinion...
Isn't 223?
Right, but they do have rounds for it that are different.
22.
I think that his was a smaller caliber. But my question for you is, having fired the 30-06, do you feel like banning AR-15s will get rid of the most powerful weapon out there? That we're legally allowed to own.
Obviously, if you ban them, then, it just opens black markets, but, there's always going to be something, even if people use rocks.
Well, Michelle's trying to lead you on the question to say that the 30-06 is way more deadly than a 223 AR-15.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that in the Civil War, they used, what was it, like, caliber, like, 50 or, like, .55.
Yeah.
Caliber, like, whatever it was a lot larger than what we have now. And then, like, in World War II, they used 30-06, if I'm correct, and then now it's 223, so the rounds keep getting smaller. But
so they're actually causing less damage as time goes on.
Because I felt like if you hit somebody with an AR-15, and this is Michelle again with my girly analysis here. You hit somebody in the shoulder with an AR-15. Let's say it's not near your heart. Let's say it's on the other side. You may survive that, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
My question is, if you hit somebody in the same spot with the 30-06, it feels like it's going to do a little bit more damage.
It's going to blow your
arm
off.
Am I correct?
it's going to blow your head off.
Yeah, that's safe to assume. The larger the round, the more damage.
Okay, so that was my question. So when you get back, you can always come on and expound more, but that's what we were talking about now, so thank you.
Yeah, like you say, I do believe that they have, I could be wrong, but they have ARs, like different calibers possibly, or even a shotgun version.
Right, yeah, we were just reading that. They do. It's a 410. Okay, all right, thank you. Bye. All right, so my point was, and obviously you guys got my point, that the AR-15, somehow it's just become this trigger word, no pun intended, that makes people like, we have to ban the AR-15. I'm like, dude, do you have any kind of idea? The difference is, and maybe you guys can correct me on this, Chris Holman in the chat, which we should have just done a Skype with you. The difference is I don't think that they have the high power or high capacity magazines, right, which is what I think makes, in their opinion, the biggest difference is these high capacity magazines. So you can just keep shooting and shooting and shooting without having to stop and reload. With that 30-06, you have to load, I don't know how many it holds.
I think it's a couple.
So that's, I think, the biggest difference, not the actual damage that the gun could do. I mean, you go into a school and you fire a shotgun,
but didn't they say
the spread there could?
Didn't we just read that the AR-15 can be a 30-06?
It could, yeah, well,
like a chamber.
But most people that are getting, from what I understand, AR-15s get the 223. I don't think I've ever met anybody that has an AR-15 that's not a 223.
If he was only a 22, he wasn't trying to do very much damage.
All right, so carry on.
Headlines. The FBI is bound by a document. It's about this thick. It's known as the Dialogue. They take that Bible very seriously, and it's really a document that's meant to limit the power of the FBI, keep them from excess, and that guides when the circumstances in which they can open a case, the techniques that they can use in pursuing a case, very often when they must close a case. So we've heard that conversation with some terrorism cases that have been closed and then somebody strikes. We saw it in Boston and other places around the country. That document is intended to protect the organization. It is intended to protect you and I from FBI excesses.
So in this specific case, how did that prevent the FBI from moving forward?
Well, I suspect what happened here is, as they're working within their guidelines, there's a couple levels of cases that they can work. The lowest level of that is essentially, it's called an assessment. I have very little information to start. I do not have enough predication to start a preliminary inquiry or a full investigation and use all the FBI's tools. I have very little. The guidance of the Dialogue also does this. The FBI is a federal investigative agency. Its focus is on the federal law. That Dialogue is pointing them towards federal crimes and national security threats. And here, on its face, you may have neither of those two things.
This was from last night. We now know that on its face, it was all, they had to open a case, and they didn't.
You have some words that some would say, that's freedom of speech. Right. I'm not threatening somebody directly. I'm just throwing up some hate, supposition on the internet and walking away from it, stirring people up.
That's a totally fair point. I wonder, we've been pretty tough on the FBI recently on this show, and I think in a way that's warranted. But I also think in cases like this, are we vesting too much confidence in all of our law enforcement?
So I think that Tucker actually would be totally different tonight when he's on. This one's from last night. All right, all right, I'm going to go on, kind of move on here and talk about how liberals are reacting.
Oh my gosh, no, I know you're going to get to it, but seriously, to set the stage for that, if you guys have been following this at all on the mainstream media or any kind of media outlet, what I'm hearing over and over and over, more than ever before, more than Las Vegas, more than past school shootings, they are hitting this so hard, which is also what leads me to believe that this was a false flag. And my opinion of that false flag is this. I think this is how they were very well aware. They knew everything. They did not reveal it. They didn't censor him. They just were like, all right, we know this kid's attack is imminent. Let's do the school. That's what I'm saying. They knew this was going to happen. They're doing it for gun control, strictly.
So wait a second. The CNN article says they got a tip on January 5th. with all the information. Cruz gun ownership, desire to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Then they immediately hold a school shooting.
When did they get the tip?
January 5th. They immediately hold a drill there at the guy's school.
Let's not tell the teachers or the students that the reason we're doing this drill is because this guy here in town that we're just going to let keep walking free may come to your school and shoot up. And I laugh about that, but I really shouldn't, because I wish you could pull up the photos of those 17 people that lost their lives here. It is not funny. This is not something that they should have taken into their hands.
I just hope that the alternative media doesn't let this go. The fact that they did a drill right after they got this tip telling them this guy's going to do this. Right? So liberals have blamed all the following for the Florida shooting: guns, the NRA, Donald Trump, white people, and Republican. But for some people, for some reason, they will not blame Nicholas Cruz.
No.
Not his fault. He didn't do it.
Right.
So here, I like this meme that Paul Wasson put out. Cops are evil and racist. Push this button. Nobody needs guns because we have police.
Right.
Which one do you push? Because liberals push both buttons each time.
Right. No, it's so true.
And you know what? Here's what libertarians say. There are some bad cops.
Yeah.
And I want my guns.
Yep.
There are some bad people, and I want my guns. Right? That's what we say.
It makes me, I'm just like, I mean, whatever fits their agenda at the moment is what they go with every single time.
So here's this. The whole FBI is sitting around the computer. I'm going to be a professional shooter. Who is this guy? And it has kids at the lunch table all yelling, Nicholas Cruz!
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's great. I hope you guys can see that.
I'm going to be... Yeah. So,
it's embarrassing.
I don't know.
And again, I do apologize for laughing. I hope that you guys can understand the difference between my laughing at the ridiculousness of the left and the incompetence of the FBI versus the severity and the seriousness of what happened to these students. Right. Because on the one hand, it is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that you have to laugh about it. But on the other hand, it's so serious that you really do need to feel the depths of that. So what I've done is Chris Holman is going to come on Skype here in a little bit with us. He was in the military for 8 years. He served in Afghanistan. And so I kind of wanted to get another opinion on the weaponry, because to me, if we don't hash out the agenda of what is happening and why the left is pushing the gun control so hard, then these kids almost died in vain. Yeah. Because if we allow them to be used as a political pawn, then their lives, I mean, it's just like, it just belittles everything. Right. We need to be able to say, this is why this happened. These are the people that are at fault. And we can see that in their agenda.
So
we haven't covered this yet.
Everybody keeps sending us this link. This girl says that she met Nicholas Cruz in the hallway and then she heard shooting after. There are two explanations for this. But I want to play this interview for you.
Google Thought Police know what you think about it in the comments section below. Oh, and hey YouTube, this is for educational purposes, so try not to mess with it, okay?
I know you talked to a student who says she actually bumped into the gunman after the shooting. Explain.
Amazing, really. You know, as we arrived here at the scene, it was so chaotic. We had parents showing up, looking for their kids, students coming out, looking for their loved ones. And as you mentioned, a young lady, a very nervous senior when we spoke with her, Alexa Miednick. She said that she accidentally bumped into the alleged shooter in the hallway during the evacuation.
I actually was in the bathroom at the moment, and I came back to my classroom and I knocked on the door, and the fire alarm went off, and principal came on the speaker and just said, everyone needs to evacuate right now. So that's what we did. As I was going down the stairs, I heard a couple shots fired. Everyone was freaking out, saying that it was a gun. And as we were walking, the whole class together, I actually was speaking to the suspect, Nicholas Cruz. And as I was speaking to him, he seemed very, I don't know what the word I want to say is, but he was trouble in middle school, so I kind of joked to him about it and said, I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it, and he just gave me a huh? So that's really what happened.
You were walking down the hall, he had already fired at that time?
Yes, sir, with him.
Weren't you scared?
In the moment I wasn't, because there was obviously definitely another shooter involved, but...
Oh, you think he was not the only one?
No, definitely not.
Why do you say that?
Because when shots were fired, I saw him after the fact. So, and the shots were coming from the other part of the building, so there definitely had to be 2 shooters involved, I believe.
That's the first I've heard of that. Did you see any other students who were wounded?
No, sir. I really have no words. I mean, I've known him since middle school. He's always been nice to me. He definitely should be paying for what he's done.
Alexa says she never saw a gun, and when she was walking with Cruz, she just thought he was evacuating the school like everyone else. Only later did she realize just how fortunate she is to be alive tonight.
And he just gave me a huh?
Guys, thanks for watching my video.
So, the reporter there had said that he did a segment with the news station saying, she told me all of this, we'll cover it at 10. At 10 o'clock, they did not cover it. However, he shared it on his Twitter page, which is how the video has been able to circulate, but it doesn't fit their agenda. There have been other students that have come out that have said that there were shots that were being fired from multiple parts of the building.
Right.
And she seems, I don't want to say this, I'm just going to be honest, it's our channel. She seems a little bit ditzy, but she seems honest.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like she was telling the truth the way that she understood it, the way that she perceived it. So I don't know what else to say to that. She said no, like very matter of fact. And then when he pressed her and asked her why, she said, this is why, because I saw him after the shots were fired. She didn't see a gun in his hands, and she heard shots being fired from the other side of the building.
So this was the article that I wanted up. It's the mirror article to the CNN article. This is the Fox News reported on the same information that the Bureau admitted to receiving a call on January 5th. Now, I guarantee you Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity tonight are going to blow a gasket, because this isn't just some YouTube comment. This is a call. Now, I don't know if you can find out exactly when they held that drill. I don't know if you can Google that or find out, or maybe you guys know, when did they exactly, what day was the drill? The at this high school. So in a statement, the Bureau admitted, I'm going to say this again because this is so important. I'm going to just keep, this is like the main point of the whole show tonight. In a statement, I probably should change the title. The Bureau admitted to receiving a call on January 5th from a person close to Cruz who contacted the FBI. I wonder who that is, though. That's a really good question. Through the public access line, tip line, to express concerns about his erratic behavior. So he was called twice. Twice his name has been into the FBI. It says, under established protocols, the information provided by the caller should have been assessed as a potential threat to life.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI statement said, we have determined that these protocols were not followed for the information that was received, because they're too busy covering their rears on the Russia investigation. They have no one to assess any threats in our country whatsoever right now. It is now clear that the warning signs were there and tips to the FBI were missed, Sessions says. We see the tragic consequences of those failures. The FBI, in conjunction with our state and local partners, must act flawlessly to prevent all attacks. This is imperative and we must do better. I have ordered, here's the thing, we don't want unfounded surveillance. We want our law enforcement to react when we ask them for help.
Correct.
When we ask them for help. We don't want unnecessary spying, which is what they would rather do, collect all kinds of crazy information. But when we actually give them, when somebody actually gives them information,
right,
they don't want to hear it, because it doesn't
So I want to read a comment from Horatio in the UK. He sent it to me on Facebook. He says, no one ever seems to ask why school shootings happen in the U.S. We have guns over here. Gang members shoot other gang members. We have a plethora of totally unnecessary knives, and kids stab each other at school one-on-one. But there's never attacks with guns or knives in schools. What is it about the U.S. schools that makes so many kids want to exterminate as many fellow pupils and teachers as possible? Something must be breeding that want. Now, my answer is not going to police Horatio, because I know that he doesn't exactly follow the conspiracy theory end of things, but it's all that I have. It's the only answer that I have. And I honestly believe that kids here are pumped full of drugs. They are, the way that our children are raised through public school kind of creates
we don't know if he was on Ritalin or something for his ADHD, right?
Mentality. I don't know maybe the difference between your public school and our public schools, but seriously, they're like rats in cages. And these kids, they get to the point where they definitely think the food is different. Gut bacteria is a huge, huge deal when it comes to mental.
We are known as like the
abilities.
corn, like the GMO corn country.
Yeah.
You don't have the same thing in the UK. There's a lot of things that add up, and I think that when they all come together,
right.
I do know that in the Columbine shooting, we covered this before when we were covering the satanic rock and roll. They listened to some sort of German crazy metallic band, and that in their song it says, "I'm going to go to the school and use my shotgun and blow people up." Basically, is the words.
So I think what you have is mentally unstable children that automatically want to do something that's going to give them notoriety. A lot of these kids were picked on at school. I know you guys, everybody's picked on everywhere, but I think that the mental capacity to not do these things just isn't there in some students in the United States because of nutrition, because of the way that our kids are raised. It's just a completely different world here in the United States, where kids are put in daycares from the time that they're, I mean, it's awful. But adding to that, my conspiracy theory comes in when I say that the authorities that really do control our country, which is the unelected officials of the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, they want these things to happen. They literally want these school shootings to happen. So that when these kids pop up, like Nicholas Cruz, they let them fall through the cracks.
This says, under normal protocol, this information would have been provided to the Miami field office. So it was the regular tip line. It was not sent to the field office where they gave the kid's name, address, everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't sent to that FBI, the Miami field office. It wasn't sent there so that they could investigate, go talk to him. If they talked to him, if they looked at
the
his
local
Instagram,
chapter of the FBI, can I call it a chapter? I don't know. I just made that up. But they possibly may have done something about this. But somewhere higher up, I don't think it was a ball that was dropped. Well, I do. I think it was dropped on purpose. I think they literally, on purpose, did not pass this information on.
The guys on the ground in Miami would have done something.
Probably.
Most likely.
Because the
rank and file FBI agents are no different than regular cops. You can have good guys and bad guys.
Right.
How do you get to the top? It's the top guy. Like Christopher Wray is trying to say, oh, we're so sorry. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, something was dropped. Blah, 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 blah. So many 911 calls emanated from 80th Terrace Street in Parkland, the suburban address where the teenager lived with his younger brother, Zachary, and their adopted mother, Linda. The calls, dating as far back as 2010 and continuing until November 2016, until she died, right?
And I wonder, do we know what she died from?
I don't know. Shed a light on two erratic and violent boys who repeatedly threw items, were out of control, and fought their mother and each other on an apparently regular basis. So, you're going to have... The FBI would have interviewed the mother, figured out what... But here's the thing. The police were called and said, oh, no work deal. Nothing's happening here. So, despite the repeated calls to authorities, Cruz was never arrested. It was basically cleared on there being no threat to him or anyone or himself, as one therapist said in a police report in this September. So, everybody wants, like, better mental health. They want better... I have liberal friends who said, we need more money at mental health and psychiatry. This therapist met with this boy and said they were not wrong, but everybody in school knew that he was going to be a school shooter.
Right.
So this therapist needs to be have their medical license taken away.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if everyone in school says he's going to be a school shooter, then a therapist could sit down with 5 minutes or 10 minutes and see, that kid is not right in the head.
Right.
And that would have, might have put him on an FBI list to not be able to buy the gun. I mean, it's all these different things. In that particular call, the sheriff's office said Nicholas and his mother were fighting over paperwork needed for him to get an ID card. In their report, deputies detailed how the teen had been harming himself.
Kate L. says she died of pneumonia.
Oh, that's awful. He had been harming himself. He'd been cutting himself. He learned from his girlfriend to cut himself and had been talking about buying a gun. The therapist on the scene, Jared Benenfeld, with Henderson Mental Health, and the deputies concluded there were no signs of mental illness or criminal activity, even though he was cutting himself and talking about getting a gun. According to the reports, Cruz and his brother both suffered from mental issues, ADHD, OCD, and took medication as treatment. So
here we are with the medications again.
The same thing with Sandy Hook. That kid was just messed up in the head, right? And he was on medication. Cruz's lawyer said Thursday that her client was a broken human being and the team was looking into an evaluation of autism. Cruz was able to legally purchase the AR-15 he used in the mass shootings. It says that that the teenager already owned the gun when he moved into his friend's house at Thanksgiving after his mother's death. We don't know when. I guess they know when he bought it. Cruz was expelled from Marjory Stoneman last year for disciplinary problems, with one report saying bullets were discovered in his backpack at one point.
So Sunday Ann on our Facebook live chat said, I posted if Massachusetts had practices on these drills because I was curious about that. And she said one parent responded that yes, for years now, they have practices a few times a year, but they don't tell the kids what they are practicing for. So leading into that, and we'll get back to your article in 1 second, but Brian, aka Sooks, had sent me this link that I wanted to go over with you guys here for a second. Florida shooter made sick use of school's active shooter drill. Right after Christmas break, the Broward County Public Schools held their system-wide intruder and active shooter training. As it does each year, the Broward County Sheriff's Office met with the teachers and staff at each facility, including Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, and went over procedures in the event an active shooter invaded the building. The officers reminded them nobody should imagine that the horrors of Columbine and Sandy Hook and so many other schools could not happen there in Broward. Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School was not exempt simply because the surrounding town of Parkland had been declared the safest city in Florida in 2017. The officers also emphasized that in the event of a lockdown, everybody should remain in place. They said, quote, tell your kids if they hear a fire alarm or if somebody knocks on the door and says, let us in, don't open the door for anybody. A Broward teacher who attended the training told the Daily Beast. The deputies told the teachers at each school in January essentially what Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel would say in the aftermath of what was to come the very next month. If you see something, say something. The teachers then passed on their training to the students. The schools had lockdown drills as they had regularly for years. One student who had been in at least a half a dozen such drills, but missed this year's at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School was Nicholas Cruz. He was expelled last year by some accounts for threatening classmates.
So what, is there a date on that?
It just says after Christmas break.
So they get the tip January 5th. And then they held it. Obviously, Christmas break usually goes until the 3rd.
Something like that.
It would have been, they got the tip, they held the drill.
Right.
That's insane. They get this tip and they hold the drill. They get the tip, they hold the drill. That's not a coincidence. We see this happening all the time. Obviously, somebody at the top decided, oh, do these drills.
Right.
Go and do these drills. They probably didn't tell the Miami office. Or maybe they did. Maybe Miami office is in on it. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
All right.
All right, so finish up this article and then we're going to go ahead and Skype with Chris.
Go ahead. That's pretty much where we're at.
All right, I'm going to give you that. Hopefully Chris is there and ready. All right, so let me get this hooked up here. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and call you. Hope you're ready.
We need a staff.
Are you getting any volume out of yours?
I am. Okay. I have volume. I have a beep.
And there he is. Hey, Chris. Hang on.
Hey, ladies.
1 second. Let me get so that the rest of everyone else can see you here.
Oh,
I think they can probably go ahead and hear you.
I apologize for my dog. Be quiet.
No, it's okay. The dog. So I'm hoping that this will go ahead. It should take 1 second to register here, and you should come up in the Skype. Should being the operative word. Maybe go ahead. Maybe let me get rid of this and try it again. Add. Sorry, I'm still learning this stuff. So I don't want to ask you any.
Here he is.
I don't want to ask you any questions until everybody's here. If you would, do you mind giving us a little bit of backstory on who you are and what makes you a little bit relevant for us to be speaking to?
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yep.
So I was in the military for 8 years, 6 years as an infantryman, 2 years Cav Scout, fire team leader in Afghanistan. That was my second deployment. I have a YouTube channel, a firearms YouTube channel. It's fairly small, but I build ARs. So I know the AR-15 pretty well. There's also the AR-10, which would be like your 308, your high-powered cartridge. I've never even held an AR-10, to be honest with you.
Are they easy to get? I mean, can anyone just buy them like an AR-15?
Oh yeah, it's the exact same process. I mean, you got to pass a background check, which is pretty simple. I mean, it's not too bad. To pass a background check, you have to, well, for one, have never been committed long term.
Right.
Not a felon, no felon, no misdemeanor domestic violence. You have to be a U.S. citizen, and have never been a member of an anti-government group.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's it. So, like, if you're a member of, like, I don't know, Antifa, theoretically, you shouldn't be able to purchase firearms.
Right. Okay, so my question also, when it comes to these background checks, is if the FBI had this tip, which apparently they did, on him, if he had purchased the gun after the tip, we don't know when he got the gun, but he's pretty young. I think you have to be over 18, right?
Yes. Now, some states are different, but you can typically buy an AR-15 at the age of 18. That's, and look, there's a lot of stuff that maybe should have gigged him, but they don't check that. Like, the FBI doesn't check social media, and I think they should.
Right.
So, I mean, if they had, he wouldn't have passed a background check. If they were
if they had...
But if they had the tip that they had
from
as
the
of
YouTube,
the 5th...
Well, no.
Oh, and before...
Prior
so
to
when
that,
they do the background check, they call the FFL, the gun store, calls the FBI. They're the ones who do it, right? So he should that alone, like if they had an actual investigation on him, that would have been enough to stop. If you have an active like the FBI is investigating you, at the very least, there's going to be a delay.
Right. So I don't know the exact date on when that YouTuber contacted the FBI, but obviously that something fell through the cracks because they weren't able to find him. I'm assuming that it was in a time frame when they probably should have had his name in some sort of FBI database just to say, hey, this guy commented on a YouTube and said, I want to shoot people. Let's not let him buy.
Well, and also though, if there was this tip on the 5th that didn't get passed down to Miami, I feel like within that tip, can they retroactively go back and say, did this person buy a gun within the past year?
That's a good question.
Yes. So, if you pass a background check,
your dog is absolutely adorable right now, getting underneath that blanket.
That's all they do. Yeah, they love blankets. Which was it? The small brown one? Which one was it?
I don't know. I just saw the blanket moving.
Oh yeah, those are my dog. So, I mean, if you pass a background check already and you've already purchased the firearm, there's not really a whole lot they can do.
But would they at least have been able to look and see that he bought a gun? I mean, that's in their records, right?
So the ATF maintains a record of firearm purchases for 6 months.
Okay. That's good to know. Maybe they should maintain it for longer than that.
Well, that would be a national registry, and gun owners are against the national registry because if they ban guns, then they could go to their national registry and collect guns.
I like it. I get it. That's why you're here. All right. So also, I want to ask you kind of the same question that I was asking Kansas earlier, and that is, would banning the AR be like the be-all and end-all of ending these school shootings?
No, because there's so many other, well, for two reasons. One, there are so many other semi-automatic, you can call them like a faux AR, or whatever. They're actually even better than an AR-15. Like your FN SCAR 16S, and the SCAR is superior to the AR in my opinion.
Okay.
And there's a lot of other similar rifles out there that are superior in pretty much every way to an AR-15. Okay. The benefit of the AR-15 and why it's so popular is because it's modular.
Right, you can add and take away, right.
There's so many different handguards, different calibers, triggers. I mean, there's a whole industry just on triggers.
Okay.
I buy them in individual parts at a time and assemble. An example would be like this one, which is an AR pistol chambered in 300 blackout. I have 2 videos on this one. And then this
But here's the thing, Chris. Hang on. Break that down to me. And I don't want to interrupt your thought here.
Okay.
But that gun, to the everyday American that knows nothing, just because of the way that you've built it out, they're going, oh my
scary,
gosh,
but
it's going to kill the whole world. We could drop it on North Korea and Kim Jong-un would just die. I mean, that's the way that it looks scary.
What's the capability of that particular?
I don't think it's as scary as it looks.
This one has a lot of money in it, and it has a special trigger called a binary trigger. So I'll bring this close. For the trigger, this is a safety selector switch right here, okay? So to fire, you would move it there to fire, right?
Okay.
And on semi-auto, that's as far as it'll go. But this particular one has another mode, which is called your echo mode or binary. So it fires when you pull the trigger and fires when you release the trigger.
Right, I've heard of those. Okay.
So it's still not full auto, but you can get kind of simulated high rate of fire. But that's not why I did it. It's for close control pairs.
Oh, okay, I get it.
To fire 2 shots close together.
Okay.
This is being a short barrel and chambered in 300 blackout, which is the ideal round in my opinion for a short barreled AR. It is a 90 grain projectile, which is heavier than the 5.56, but it does not have the range. It does not have the range of a 5.56. It is basically a 7.62 projectile in a 5.56 cartridge with a lot less powder.
Okay.
Than the 7.62.
Okay. But still, I think that the preconceived notion that somehow that weapon just kills people by itself because it just looks dangerous is ignorant at best.
Well,
I mean,
every firearm is dangerous.
Correct.
Right? So to call a firearm an assault weapon is ludicrous because every weapon can be used
to
as
assault
an assault.
someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Even your fist, that's an assault, right?
Right. So, the military uses this basic weapon platform for a reason. It is an effective weapon. I'm not going to say that it isn't, but the 5.56 is not a high-powered cartridge. It just isn't. It is specifically designed to inflict wounded casualties more than killed in action.
Fatal. Okay. So
the 5.56 will tumble and fragment inside the body cavity, and it's very small. The 5.56 round is very small. It's longer and heavier than a .22 long rifle, but 5.56 is .223.
Right.
So it's just slightly bigger than a .22, heavier and longer with a lot more powder behind it. Okay. When you get past when the round becomes transonic or below the speed of sound, it is essentially a .22 long rifle at that point.
Okay, gotcha.
So then you had another weapon that you wanted to show us.
Oh yes. So now this is an entirely different build. This I have a video on this one as well. This would be most people would call it an SPR or a special purpose rifle.
Okay.
I'm not in the military, so I call it a precision rifle. So I have a variable power scope on this. This is intended to shoot at paper and metal targets at, out to 600 yards, which is pretty considerable. It doesn't have lethal, well, maybe some, but it doesn't really have lethality behind the round at 600 yards.
Right, okay.
But it can accurately shoot out to 600 yards.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of people don't seem to realize is the vast majority of gun owners who have AR-15s, they're not building AR-15s to shoot people.
Right.
It's to shoot targets.
Right.
Safer targets is to improve their marksmanship skills. Maybe they're doing competitions like 3-gun competitions where you have a shotgun, a rifle, and a handgun. You know, the vast majority of AR-15 owners, they're, just responsible, law-abiding citizens. They have no intention of hurting anyone.
Right.
If someone breaks in their home, sure, they're going to protect their family, but I think there's maybe less than 100 murders yearly with an AR-15.
Really?
So,
that's a good statistic to have, because with handguns, it seems like that would be the most. Is that the most popular?
Yes, something like 95% of all homicides with a firearm are committed with a handgun.
Right.
And a fraction of 1% are committed with semi-auto rifles. And
really?
And only a portion of those are committed with an AR-15.
Oh my!
On average per year, the AR-15 is not something that. That people typically, you see it in the news whenever it happens, so it seems like it's more common, but it's really not.
Right.
In fact, an AR-15 astronomically is used for home defense, actually used in home defense than ever in the commission of a crime.
Right, because most people use a shotgun. Like, that's the thing that, from what I understand, that's
depending
on
a
shotgun.
Depending on where you live, like if you live in an apartment like me with paper-thin walls, a shotgun or something like a .45 caliber handgun would be great because it doesn't have the over-penetration. A 5.56, probably not so much.
Right, because you might end up hitting somebody.
Right, but if you live out in the country in a farm and your closest neighbor is a mile away, whatever. You don't have to worry as much about that round. But you're responsible for that round from the time it exits the end of your barrel till the time it stops moving.
And most gun owners take that into account. Most gun owners are not this young man.
Yeah, responsible gun owners know this. And they take that into account when they choose a firearm for home defense or as a truck gun or as a concealed carry firearm. They take that into account. And we learn to pay attention to not just what's between you and your assailant, but what's behind your assailant.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it seems to me that, like Leah was saying earlier, when kids there was the option in the elective course to take a firearm. It wasn't even safety. It was actually, from what I understand, it was just marksmanship. Kids were taught that. They understood, they were taught those basic principles, and there was a respect. But now what I see is not only are students not taught about guns and how to safely use them, they're taught to fear them in a way that's unhealthy, because you don't fear a weapon if you understand the safety rules behind it. It's not a scary thing if you respect it. But I think that you see it on both ends of the aisle where kids, because it's just not talked about, they're just afraid of it. It's kind of like parents should sit down and talk to their kids about drugs and sex so that you know the ins and outs. You're supposed to do that about guns as well.
I do have an opinion on this, and now my childhood was probably different than most people, unless you lived, like in the country. But I was taught as a kid that you don't aim the barrel of a rifle at anything that you don't intend to destroy.
Right.
Right. You keep your finger off the trigger. This is not a toy. You don't bring it out and play with it.
Right.
It goes in the gun cabinet. It goes in the closet. If you're going to go shoot, then you get it out. This is not something to play with.
Right.
You don't go and load and unload and play around and like it's not a toy.
Right.
So you learn to respect it, and you learn this. But the problem with now, this was back, I was in high school in the 90s, but and even back then there was a lot of this where violence was glorified in music, particularly in like rap music in the 90s,
Definitely.
in video games and movies, and oh my God, and even more so now in movies.
Right.
And so now these kids, they grow up, and for one, they had this whole gangster mentality that they learned in this music, right? To respond with conflict with violence,
right?
Because that's the the tough guy way to do things.
Sure, that's really
the removal of God from school and morality, the coddling of our kids, the bullying in high school has gone crazy. Now, I hated bullies in high school, and I beat up bullies. Like I hate bullies. I was taught to stand up for myself and those who are unable to do so.
Good.
And I think that a lot of these bullies in school, they really just need a good butt whooping.
It's so true. So lastly, before we sign off, when you look at this entire thing, what has happened, because I know you've probably done a lot of research yourself, and I definitely want to plug your channel before we sign off here, but when you look at it as a whole, aside from what you just said, when you're looking at the gun agenda that's being pushed forward, when you're looking at the mental state of this young man, what are your kind of final thoughts on what has happened here and what the powers that be are using it for?
Well, there's definitely something nefarious behind it. But if I was given the opportunity, I could solve school shootings in 1 week.
Okay. And what would you do?
And it's real simple. I would take the $500 million that goes to Planned Parenthood, use it to fund schools. I would secure the schools first and foremost. I would then lobby Congress to pass a law so that when an instance where like this Nicholas Cruz, where he's has to be properly investigated or someone's held accountable.
Right.
And they're taken in automatically, no questions asked, 45-hour hold, as we currently have, right? 48-hour hold. During that 48 hours, mandatory evaluation. Their social media is scrubbed. Friends are talked to. They're evaluated by a psychiatrist. I mean, they are fully vetted.
Right.
And if it is proven that they are a threat to themselves or others, they go into a mental institution until they can prove that they are no longer a threat to themselves or another.
Right.
And then my next step would be, we have to take back our institutions, our public schools, our colleges, Hollywood. Hollywood needs to start making movies like they did in the 50s. I'm just saying.
No, I love that. I really
agree.
I like your solution, because here's the deal, and you know our opinion on homeschooling, but if you're going to have public schools and you're going to have these school shootings like we see that keep happening, you have to treat, I think Sean Hannity was saying, like, just to go into any building in New York, he has to go through a metal detector and he has to have his ID badge and things like that. You would think that because these schools have become a target zone for these crazed lunatics or whatever, that you now have to treat public schools almost as tight as airport security.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it has to happen.
In Afghanistan, my company did what's called Sec 4, security forces. So we did base security there at our base camp, and we also did like presence patrols and intelligence patrols and checkpoints and stuff like that. If it came to securing a building or even a larger structure, I would know what I was doing. It's actually really simple. You have a minimum of 1 guard per entrance, and the doors can only be open from the inside. You have at least one police officer in the school office, and you have to have a minimum of 1 car with 2 police officers in the parking lot that can potentially stop a shooter before they even get to the door.
Wow.
There's a meme, or not a meme, but there was somebody who posted on Twitter a sign that said, you know, our school's not a gun-free zone, and it was from Texas, and the student said, our teachers are allowed to carry weapons, and we've never had a school shooting.
You know, that actually is a great idea. Now, I wouldn't have put a handgun or a rifle or any firearm in the hands of just any teacher.
Right.
They would, considering we're talking about the safety of kids, they would have to pass a stringent background check, even for, like you would with a concealed carry permit.
Sure.
They would have to take safety courses, firearm courses, guaranteed that they know how to handle a firearm.
Right. Right.
And so I would have probably 2 teachers per hallway.
Right. Well, because think about any teacher who was trained probably could, as soon as they saw whoever was around, as soon as they heard the shots, you just
Well, from what I understand, there was an I want to say Navy or police officer. I didn't get, not Navy, but military or police officer that did die. Now, I don't think that he had his gun with him. There was nothing he could do. But I think that he defended these kids because he had it in him, because he had the training, but he didn't have the ability
to do anything on the offense.
And so
I read that story, and it was the football coach. And now this is a true American hero right here. You want to see an example of how a man should be. This is it.
Right.
Unarmed, he put himself in harm's way to save his students.
Right.
That is what it is to be an American. That's how a man should be in life. Even if it's not a deadly situation, a man protects his family, protects women and children. That right there is who we should all aspire to be, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. But in all honesty, in your humble opinion, if he had
a weapon,
do you think that this story would have ended differently?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you don't want everyone armed because too many people shooting, that's, you know what I mean? But if someone had been armed in that building, he could have been stopped, potentially, hopefully, before anyone was actually killed or wounded.
Right. Exactly.
Firearms save more lives than they take in the United States, and that's a fact that the media doesn't like to talk about.
Exactly. His name was Aaron Feiss.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I guess one of the students said, I heard Aaron say, no, that is not firecrackers. That's the last I heard of him. Witnesses say the coach shielded students from gunfire and shoved them through open doors and out of harm's way. So if he was one, obviously, who was armed, he probably would have, instead of just sheltering kids, he probably could have.
That is the very definition of selflessness.
It is. We should definitely and that was we heard that right away from Nick, who was on, and he said this football coach. Yeah, it was a teacher who had a family who gave his life. So.
Yeah. All right. So I have pulled up here your. Let me see if I can get this on top here. Your channel, because I want people to be able to go to your channel here and subscribe, because you offer something, in my humble opinion, that's a little bit different than we see on other gun channels, where you'll do a completely intricate video on a gun build, but then you'll also throw in things like we heard from you today about how God should be back in schools, or just I don't know, any number of things. Where people can just realize this is how we can take our country back. And so I think that your channel is really unique in that. And so I want you guys to go and subscribe to Chris Holman's channel right now, so that you don't forget. Go and find it. Chris Holman, Holman. Chris, I want to thank you for being on our channel today. We've been meaning to do this for a while.
Give us that context of these weapons and the situation. So
there's one particular video that I did, I think it was in December, and it was on self-defense and faith.
Oh, and yeah, I remember that video. It was really good.
Yeah, that is probably my favorite video that I've done. It didn't involve a single firearm, and then there was one other I talked about, veteran suicide.
Which is a really, really important topic.
Absolutely.
So we must support our channels that are getting truth out there. I would love to see your channel just absolutely explode. So our Resistance Chicks viewers, you have been given a mission to go and subscribe to Chris Holman's channel. So
we'll try to have you on again, and we can talk about something like that, like veteran suicide, or what it was like in Afghanistan. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you ever wanted to talk about Afghanistan and why it probably will never end, I can definitely do that.
Well, we need you on for that, definitely.
We definitely need you on for that. All right, thanks, Chris, and God bless. So now, do we want to go to the Mueller thing that we didn't cover yet?
God bless, ladies.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, he was talking about Afghanistan. I was like, duh, why haven't we had him on to talk about Afghanistan?
All right, so I hope that you guys enjoyed that as much as we did. I'm hoping that we can do more interviews, so that you guys don't just get Leah and Michelle and our opinion and our take on things, but people that actually are qualified to be speaking on these topics.
All right, so I don't think we have time to go through all of our news stories, so we're going to hit this one because it's huge. It's all over Twitter right now. Mueller indicts 13 Russians for election meddling
with no Trump collusion. connection.
So 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian entities for violating criminal laws to interfere with the 2016 election. Why it matters. This tells us quite a bit about what Russia did to interfere in our election, but not much about potential collusion, which you could have investigated the Russians without investigating Donald Trump, by the way. It's all, you know what I mean? You have complete authority, FBI and CIA, to investigate anything.
Exactly.
Foreign. You didn't need Mueller to do it.
I know.
All right, so
but obviously the FBI is a little bit lacking in investigations, or what they should be investigating as of late.
Attorney General Rod Rosenstein has said that while the defendants were in touch with Americans, including members of the Trump campaign, the Americans did not know they were communicating with Russians. He added that the indictment does not confirm that the alleged meddling changes the outcome of the potential election, which I find just so humorous. So here we have Julian Assange's Twitter account. Mueller troll farm indictment today explicitly states no collusion, does not actually mention WikiLeaks whatsoever, because in my opinion, WikiLeaks, if anything, they did change the outcome of the election, because as soon as WikiLeaks came out, I had people who were on the front, not on the fence about Clinton, but didn't know how bad the Clintons were.
Right.
And they're just like, I can't vote for this chick. I know I can't vote for her. I don't really want to vote for Trump, but I'm going to vote for Trump now.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit this one out because Hillary Clinton can't be president. States trolls intent to support Trump and Sanders and oppose Clinton and Cruz. So funny. States trolls intent on anti-Trump and pro-Trump rallies po-election. So playing both sides of the field. Hilarious to me. And there's a file that you can read here, and you can read the whole indictment if you so choose. I'm glad that WikiLeaks will do that for me, so I don't have to. And we can get and know exactly what's happening. Okay, so another thing on the shooting. You might have heard yesterday that he was a part of some sort of white supremacist group, and that some sort of Florida chapter said, yeah, we trained him, or we trained with him. Well, that guy backpedaled on that. And Jack Posobiec says 4chan used the race-baiting confirmation bias and zero fact-checking gotcha culture of the MSM to troll them all into reporting a complete hoax because it sounded true to them. It really makes you think. They wanted him to be this crazy, weird white supremacist. He looks Mexican. His last name is Cruz, by the way. But
I don't know. I have to disagree with Jack on one thing. That they did it just because it sounded true. No, they didn't care whether it sounded true or not. They did it on purpose to put out they probably knew that it wasn't true and put it forward anyway, because it's like any kind of statement, you can't strike it from you can strike it from the record, which they never actually do. They never do retractions, but it's in people's minds.
Right.
It's all over my social media page. I have close friends, and I'm just staying out of it. I'm like, y'all people can hash this out however you want, but posting, oh, we got to get rid of the guns. And I'm like, wow, you people really do drink the Kool-Aid, All
right, so I'm going to read you some of these tweets I have retweeted about this Mueller indictment. Robert Mueller has finally justified the millions he spent. He's arrested 13 people for having fake Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts and being partisan. Who knew that this type of horrific crime was going on in America?
Really?
Mike Cernovich says, imagine if the FBI worked as hard to protect children as they did to try to get Hillary Clinton elected.
Ooh, well said, Cernovich.
This is another tweet that has to go back to the shooting. This guy, Matt Rivers, says, I live abroad in China, and most of my colleagues and friends here are not American. There is a persistent belief that disbelief on their part as to why the U.S. continues to allow shootings like Parkland to happen. Not sure what to tell them. And Tucker says, in fairness, among Americans, there is persistent disbelief that the Chinese allow themselves to be genocided by their own government every few decades. Listen, I got a problem with my government. I got lots of problems with my government. I speak out about it. And I know my government's doing crazy things in Afghanistan and Iraq, okay?
True.
But here's the thing. China, your government kills babies in people's bodies. Yeah. Your government sterilizes people. I can't understand why the Americans government allows the shootings. Because y'all ain't allowed to have guns because the government came in and tried to take my baby out my body. I'm going to shoot them. I'm going to shoot them dead. Y'all can't do that. All right, so I want to play a little, not little. I'm sorry, he's a cute young man. CJ Pearson on the Mueller indictment here, Russian.
And deputies
turn him up a little bit.
Rosenstein announced indictments of more than 13 Russians who were accused.
I'm gonna have to make him small.
Of seeking to sway the election. Now, that's not really the biggest news to me in this story. It really isn't. The biggest news to me today is that Rod Rosenstein also announced that no Americans knowingly participated in these illegal activities. In addition to that, that it is not included in any indictment released today that what happened with these Russians swayed the election in one way or another. Meaning that even if these Russians hadn't done it, there is no concrete evidence or basis to opine or predict that Hillary Clinton would be president today. Now, this is the exact thing that Republicans have been saying for more than a year, as the left and the media have constantly and consistently talked about Russia, Russia, Russia. No, Russia did not elect Donald Trump, but millions of Americans did. Americans who felt forgotten. Americans who were tired of losing and wanted to start winning again. Americans who believed in his idea of putting America first, making America great again, and fighting for every American of every hue, of every shade, from every economical background. That is why Donald Trump won. It wasn't because of Vladimir Putin. It wasn't because of any Russia mis- or disinformation campaign. It was because he connected to the American people everywhere in this nation. From California to Georgia, from Georgia to New York, from New York to Ohio, Donald Trump connected with these people. And I was tired of hearing Russia, but now I think maybe, just maybe, it may be the last time I hear about Russia. Because today, in the words of Rod Rosenstein, no Americans knowingly participated in these Russian activities, nor is there any basis to conclude that it swayed the election in any way. But guys, we knew that. That's it for me. You can follow me.
He's adorable. All right, so here's the thing. He hit on something about, and we talk about this a lot, but the mainstream media covered Russia, Russia, Russia. And it would not have, it didn't sway the election one way or the other. Even if they had been colluding with Americans or whatever, it literally would not have swayed the election one way or the other. And a friend of mine had sent me a link to Mike Rowe's new show on Facebook. What's it called? Rewarding people. Shoot, I can't remember what it's called.
Giving back.
Yeah, giving back, whatever. I don't know what it is. And this is the first episode that I've watched of it. I hadn't seen it before, but this guy is making bunk beds for kids that don't have them. And he's got all these chapters all over America. If Lee and I, when we come to you, we have so much news that it's hard to cover everything. And so we try, unlike today, to not stay too long on any one topic so that we can fit it all in. And it saddens me that we have amazing stories. You click on the news and everything is depressing. Right. We have amazing stories that if it were to just be put out on one mainstream media outlet, we could have chapters building bunk beds for kids all over America, thousands, and making world change, or even just changes in our own country. If they would just take the time to do what Mike Rowe is doing and find somebody that is out there that is doing something awesome. Our news actually did it today. I have no idea why, but they covered a lady that is picking up cigarette butts all over our city. She's picked up like 1 million cigarette butts, and she's like, I don't know why I do it. I just see them and I don't like them there, and so I'm just picking them up. So they covered that, and they said, maybe you want to, kind of join this movement. And I'm like, okay, all right. The mainstream media could be actually, listen to this, guys, changing the world. Yeah. They have the power because they have the consumer literally hooked into their tube. They could change minds. They could get people to participate in world-changing things if they would just use their power for good. And they don't, because they realize that they have this power and they are using it for evil. And so when CJ Pearson had mentioned, all we hear about is Russia, 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 I'm like, if you were just to take maybe 5% of your news and cover something like that, we could be changing the world. Our world would be a completely different place if they did that. Just pick one thing, you know, maybe once a week even, and try to get it up and going. It's ridiculous. They don't want to do good.
We have a segment in our show called Mainstream Media Lies in Our Own Hometown. I don't know, I just made that up.
We're going to have a segment. Starts right now. This is the first one.
Mainstream Media Lies in Our Own Hometown, Cincinnati Enquirer. This is from last Saturday. This is bride looks ahead as family awaits fate. Decision on husband's deportation looms. Now, this isn't a very large newspaper.
They've
There's
really
a lot
shrunk
of
it
news
down
to cover. There's a couple more sections.
Literally, do you guys remember when pieces, like when you used to get a piece of newspaper and it was this big? How big is this thing? Literally, it's this big. I remember when newspapers, when you opened it up, like your dad on the kitchen table had this big giant paper. They've shrunk the paper.
So, well, the first page is like all like weather, so there's nothing there, right? There's a front page story of a woman who's having to get married in jail because her husband is here illegally and was caught a couple times. Well, he was caught driving without a license, which actually, if I drive without a license, that's a crime.
Yeah.
Like without a valid license, it's a crime if I do that. So we're supposed to feel sorry for her, but that's not the only thing. There's a whole front page, right? Two more, top to bottom, on this one woman, on an illegal alien, and then they throw in there that they have a disabled son. She's not married, got a son with the guy. Not saying anything. But they want him to be able to stay because he has a disabled son and he would need to make up for him or help him. But here's the thing. At the end, she says...
I love this part. This is so great.
If he stays, I'm going to be happy, she said of her new husband. If he leaves, it's going to hurt, but I know he's going to come home sooner or later.
Home.
He'll be back in the United States sooner or later, whether it's legally or illegally. He'll be back, so it's no big deal. No skin off their back. And so that's our hometown... there was another article I wanted to put in here. We wanted to show the one.
Yeah, where is that? Let me see if I can find
it. The FBI, it says the FBI may not be so quick to give information. Oh, there it is. All right. Been sitting on. We were doing
we were planting like seeds.
I think my mom used this as like.
I think it's like wet now. That's all right. It still does the job.
FBI might keep more secrets from Congress. Memo release being seen as a violation of trust. So the FBI.
It's like this. You know what? This is the FBI. You have violated our trust. We are above you, and you have like we're your parent. You have violated our trust, and now. We're not going to tell you things anymore. We're not, because we are our own separate entity and we don't have to tell you things. And now we're going to keep even more secrets from the government because we're separate from the government. We're above the government and we don't have to tell you anything. It's a privilege, congressmen, senators, president, for us to give you any sliver of information. And now you have betrayed our trust and we're keeping all our secrets. That's what we're doing.
Speaking of government influence, here you have George Soros. Soros calls on the EU to regulate social media to fight populism. Soros is intervening in elections all over the world. Billionaire open borders activist George Soros has demanded the European Union regulate social media because voters' minds are being controlled and manipulated. No, honey. You're the manipulator and you're the controller, and the rest of us are just trying to red pill each other. He claimed the size of social media firms made them a public menace. He's not a public menace. They're a public menace. And argued they have led people to vote against globalist causes, including electing Donald Trump. He said, for The Guardian. The speculator who runs one of the largest campaigning groups in the world. We're losing! Who runs one of the largest campaigning groups in the world and is noted for his interference in foreign politics and elections, and ultimately unregulated social media threaten democracy and the integrity of elections. New media websites and populist groups have been prolific on social media, using the platforms to surpass mainstream media and provide causes Mr. Soros and his allies oppose. Mr. Soros has a cozy relationship with the EU's unelected leaders, meeting with them 11 times since the Brexit vote. Why? He's not elected to anybody. He just bankrolls everyone.
Right.
How is he legally allowed to even exist anymore? Why isn't he behind bars? Prime Minister Theresa May, in contrast, has only had 3 meetings with them. Just over a week ago, it was revealed Mr. Soros had quietly pumped £500,000 into groups trying to block Brexit, and we told you about that. In the Guardian article, he wrote that social media can influence how people think and behave without them even being aware of it. And this interferes with the functioning of democracy and the integrity of elections. We're winning, you guys. We're winning. This is the best news ever when they start to literally show all their cards on the table.
Right.
Due to the social media's use, he claimed people are losing freedom of mind. Okay. Yeah, okay, so this is when we play the game. What they accuse you of is what they're guilty of. What they say is opposite day.
Yeah.
So really, social media is allowing people freedom of mind.
That's so nice of them.
He says, this danger does not loom only in the future. It played an important role in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. So what he means is people had their minds freed in 2016. Thank you, Jesus. President Donald Trump would like to establish his own mafia-style state. No, you would like to your own mafia-style state, and that's what you work towards. And he says that the president was part of the same problem as North Korea, Kim Jong-un. No. In the U.S., regulators are not strong enough to stand up to the monopoly's political influence. The EU is better positioned because it doesn't have any platform giants of its own.
It doesn't, and that's the thing. It kind of saddens me. But it's just, point in fact, somebody had said on here, I think it was Mark H., that they're talking about people like Alex Jones, not CNN. All right? That's who they want to censor you. That's who they want to protect your freedom of mind from. But the left doesn't have anyone. They have no one. YouTube is owned. Okay, and I mean that in like the slang sense of the word, not literally like owned. It's owned by people like us, by the truth channels. If we didn't exist, YouTube would be nothing. It would be back to like music videos. It used to be when you wanted to hear a song that you liked, you went to YouTube. But now people are going to YouTube for their news, and that's disturbing to them.
Soros,
they're freeing their minds, but you can't have freedom of mind.
Who has been convicted of insider trading, by the way.
Really?
Is also suspected of attempting to interfere in the U.S. elections, and his name came up around 60 times in emails released by WikiLeaks relating to the recent presidential race. Why isn't he investigated? That's what I want to know.
Isn't he Hungarian?
Yes, he is.
So, Hungary should be investigated. It should be like, I'm just kidding because I like Hungary, but seriously, like that's where the investigation should lie, because George Soros is from Hungary. That's where the collusion is.
All right, so
Hillary Hungarian collusion.
There you go.
I just coined it here.
Sadistic sociopath leaked chats reveal Assange's extreme disdain for Hillary Clinton. WikiLeaks has never concealed its feelings about Hillary Clinton, but leaked chats obtained by The Intercept provide more insight into what its founder, Julian Assange, apparently thought about her during the run-up to the election. The tweets are said to have been sent to a direct group message between Assange and about 10 of WikiLeaks' most loyal supporters on Twitter. The group is described as a low-security channel for some very long-term and reliable supporters. In the autumn of 2015, when the idea of Donald Trump becoming the next U.S. president was still deemed highly unlikely by most political pundits, the iconic whistleblower spoke candidly about Clinton and his preference for a GOP victory. We believe it would be much better for a GOP to win. Dems plus media plus liberals would then form a bloc to rein in their worst qualities. A couple minutes later, he apparently called the Democratic candidate a bright, well-connected, sadistic sociopath. However, Assange's preference for a GOP win didn't seem to come from his loyalty to American conservatives. In fact, he apparently admitted that Republicans would generate a lot of opposition, including through dumb moves. However, he also noted that Hillary will do the same thing, but co-opt the liberal opposition and the GOP opposition. Assange went on to conclude that Hillary has greater freedom to start wars than the GOP has and will do so. A few months later, after Super Tuesday, Assange lambasted the idea of Clinton in the White House with her blood-lut and ambitions of empire with hawkish liberal interventionist appointees like Anne-Marie Slaughter and digital expansionists such as Google integrated into the power structure. Then the Republicans and Trump in opposition constantly saying she's weak and not invading enough. Around the same time, after Bernie Sanders suffered major losses to Clinton in the Democratic primary, Assange wrote, "Perhaps Hillary will have a stroke." He also said that her role in the war in Libya is what should bring her down. However, the GOP is too close to others who have benefited to exploit this, it seems. That Hillary helped to sow the foundation for ISIS against Pentagon generals' advice seems huge. Against Pentagon generals' advice. But the GOP resolutely ignores it. Hillary has so much on her shirt, it is now hard to make dirt stick. The archive that was obtained by The Intercept spans from 2015 to November 2017, includes 11,000 messages. And I just found that incredibly interesting. So, yeah.
So, I was just sent this. Hang on, let me switch this out here. Or not sent this, but someone in the chat, I think it was Devana, said that there was a powerful 7.2 earthquake in Mexico, which is a pretty big deal. Since it just happened. Normally, probably wouldn't cover it, but since it just happened, I think that it happened within like the last half hour. It rocked Mexico on Friday, a prolonged rumble that the government said had caused minor damage to buildings in the southern state of, I don't even know how to say that. But with no preliminary reports of death. The epicenter was close to a surfer resort on the Pacific coast in the southern state of Oaxaca and had a depth of 15.3 miles, according to the Geological Survey. Both south of Mexico and the capital are still reeling from earthquakes that caused widespread damage in September. So they're already
hurting
there.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Devana.
All right. So I think I'm going to end with this. General Flynn should withdraw his guilty plea. His new judge is a government misconduct expert, which is very interesting. So I guess there was a judge who was on the FISA court, and he was actually going to be Flynn's judge. Wow. But he was actually on the FISA court who approved some of the surveilling.
Right.
So he was forced to step down.
Good.
So this new guy...
Oaxaca, that's how.
This new guy, Emmett G. Sullivan, he is well known to get the FBI to make sure that the defense gets all the information that they need, like the Bundys didn't get, right?
Right.
Anything that would be exculpatory or provide for the defense, they have to hand over all that information, because he was on a case where the FBI did do that, and it was for like a sitting senator.
The FBI is known to do that. Here they are with their, you know what, we have the right to keep our little secrets.
Right.
Well, guess what, FBI? You are put there to get the secrets that other people can't get.
Remember,
and give them out. That's your job.
Why is Flynn even under in some sort of indictment? Why did he need to make a guilty plea if Comey said he didn't lie, and he said that to President Trump or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what can happen? Why would he give a guilty plea? Well, they might try to. You want to get Sydney? They might try to get your son. They might say, "Well, I'm going to get your son under an indictment,"
right?
Or I've got. They blackmail people. That's what they do. That's what they do best, actually. And so, let's see. Emmett G. Sullivan immediately issued what is called a Brady order, requiring Mueller to provide Flynn all the information that is favorable to the defense, whether with respect to guilt or punishment. Just today, Mueller's team filed an agreed motion to provide discovery to General Flynn under a protective order so that it can be reviewed by counsel but not disclosed otherwise, meaning there might be classified information there. This development is huge. Prosecutors almost never provide this kind of information to a defendant before he enters a plea, much less after he has done so. This is one of the myriad problems of our justice system. A judge-led Rakoff wrote several years ago, people who are innocent enter guilty pleas every day. They simply can no longer withstand the unimaginable stress of a criminal investigation. They and their families suffer sheer exhaustion in every form: financial, physical, mental, emotional. Imagine if you don't have good lawyers or money to for your defense. Add in a little prosecutorial duress, like threatening to indict your son, and presto, there's a guilty plea. Judge Sullivan is the perfect judge to decide General Flynn's motion. The judicial hero of this person's book. He held federal prosecutors in contempt for failing to disclose evidence, dismissed the corrupted prosecution of Alaska Senator Ted Stevens and appointed a special prosecutor to investigate the Justice Department. That independent counsel, Henry Skulke, issued a scathing report finding systematic, intentional, and pervasive misconduct of the Department of Justice. So here we have the Department of Justice and the FBI and the CIA, and they're supposed to make sure bad guys get punished and everything like that. But we need a Department of Justice Department to go over all of our upper law enforcement to make sure that they're not doing bad things, right? To be monitoring them, because obviously we can see that they have.
Or, in our humble opinion here, resistance checks, you just get rid of it. Because if you need monitors to monitor the monitors, then what's the point? Right. Because then you're going to need monitors to monitor the monitors that are monitoring the monitors.
So, yeah. The independent counsel found that the Department of Justice was, totally in the wrong. And he identified the prosecution's deliberate concealment of evidence favorable to the defense. And later on, the case was dropped against that senator from Alaska. So Emmett G. Sullivan is one judge who's ready, willing, and able to hold Mr. Mueller accountable to the law and who has the wherewithal to dismiss the case against General Flynn for egregious government misconduct if Mueller doesn't move to dismiss it himself. So I'm very excited about this. We could win. We as in General Flynn came out against Hillary Clinton. He didn't want war in Syria. Yes, he took
the
money.
Trump administration, in my opinion, would be completely different if Flynn was still in. Which is why he's not. They took him out on purpose.
So I want to share with you something that Caitlin, this is one of the last things I'm going to share. She shared this a while. This was a long time ago, actually. She shared it. I'm sure it's had more since then.
This a long time ago, as in?
Well, in Twitter universe.
Today?
Yeah, 4 a.m. 4 a.m.
A long time ago. I thought you think like last year.
Things have a life of their own. This has had over 90,000 shares and 30,000 likes in 15 hours, classifying a rank-and-file Trump voters as Klansmen benefits nobody but the ruling elites who seek to keep ordinary people divided against each other. You can't keep doing this, USA. You're trying to divide. They're trying to divide you into impotence.
And the retweet is the thing that everybody keeps retweeting.
Just so we're clear, a Make America Great hat is the Klan hood of the 21st century. It's now had 13,000 retweets and 42,000 likes. And
can somebody please explain to me when Donald Trump has ever come out and said a single racist thing?
So here you have this melanated and caffeinated black woman who says she's a black girl magic, right? A man in a camouflage Make America Great hat once told me in a bar he liked my hair color, and I immediately turned around to find out where the heck my friends had gone. Not today, Satan. Not today, Satan. I can get near anybody with a Make America Great hat. I'm not going near them. I'm not going to touch them. I'm not going to talk to them. They're Satan. All of them are Satan. Satan, Satan, Satan. He gave you a daggum compliment.
Because that's racist.
He complimented you.
That's racist.
Isn't that just to prove that people aren't racist?
Person that complimented my hair.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely ridiculous.
So that's the world that we live in right now, where this white girl, Summer Brennan, she's got 78,000 followers. So people are following her. She's some oracle of wisdom.
All right, so I wonder if we can't hit on a topic that's going to probably be a little bit divisive amongst people in our chat. Or maybe we'll just all be on one side and you guys will be on the other. That's kind of what I'm envisioning here. But Trump has come out with this idea for a new kind of regulation or a new way to provide food to people on welfare. We know it as food stamps, but he would like to do a box of food.
Trump's food stamp idea is like Blue Apron had a socialist hangover.
Can we read what would be in the box?
Like this box. Like we've
got
ramen noodles, saltines, and Frosted Flakes.
We have the pretty much the worst for you food known to mankind that I personally know you cannot subsist on crackers and saltines and Frosted Flakes.
So yeah, it was supposed to be shelf-stable milk.
That's
powdered
milk.
Milk, you
powdered
guys,
milk.
has no nutrients in it whatsoever. It is dead, and it's like and cereals, boxed cereals, probably like granola bars and cereal and Frosted Flakes and whatever. Pasta, probably not even whole wheat, probably plain old white pasta. Canned vegetables, canned meat, canned chicken, beef, and tuna.
Because it's my show and it can go as long as I say that it can go. Can we break these down one by one to maybe educate some of our viewers that don't know what makes, let's say, the white flour and the saltine cracker so bad for people? Why would it be, listen, these people that are on welfare, on food stamps, they may be on the government funding forever, okay? And at some point when they're probably 45, they're going to have all of these heart diseases. They're going to have cancers. They're going to have a plethora of diseases because this food that you are giving them is so poor. So in the end, by feeding them this terrible, 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 horrible food, you're going to cost the system far more.
It likes to say this, 100% U.S. grown and produced. That would include shelf-stale meat, peanut butter, canned fruits and meats, and cereal. Here's the thing. If this was a box like some sort of local farmer box,
thank you,
I would say amen. I would say fantastic. What kind of fresh stuff are you giving people?
Right. So before you guys, because I know some of you in the comments like, I'm all for it, just because you're libertarian thinking we shouldn't be. Listen, let's pause right there. Just pause right there. If you actually want to help people, which is what this is about, let's not make them worse. Let's teach them how to eat properly.
Well, we've often said, well, okay, if you're going to go that route, why not give them a plot of land, give them soil, and give them seeds?
Right. All this is going to do is it's going to ruin our country. I just have to tell you.
It's like literally going to Big Lots and boxing up food and giving it to poor people.
This is not helping anyone. So white flour, y'all shouldn't be on anything white flour. You shouldn't be eating the white saltines. You shouldn't be eating white bread. But what is it in the flour? I know you don't know the exact chemical, but
yeah, there's a bleaching chemical in white flour that and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's a bleaching. It's really bad for you. Okay, don't eat whatever you do. Don't eat white flour, please,
or anything made with white flour.
Please.
The bleaching agent within there, it's a chemical. It's really, really, really bad for you.
Yeah.
And it's the bleaching of the flour.
And they're going to allow, I'm sure, white sugar. Here's the thing. It's like the food pyramid is wrong. They say 11 grains and cereals. And so then as soon as the food pyramid came out and said, oh, well, sugar doesn't have fat in it, so have as much sugar as you want. Like every health program uses white, if they want to make banana bread, use white flour and regular sugar and some bananas and some applesauce and a little oil, and it's healthy. No, actually, that's what's causing diabetes.
Yes.
You need to use...
That's what it is. The chemical causes diabetes.
Natural sugars. Fats aren't bad for you, but vegetable oil is horrible for you.
Right.
It's horrible for you.
It would be better to use lard, olive oil.
So anytime the government gets involved, I say, yes, it's broken. The whole food stamp thing is broken, but I have to tell you, my big thing on the food stamp thing is there are people who are really hungry in this country.
Yep.
And
we were one of them. We were the family when we were kids. Our mom had to be on food stamps. You know, Mark H left in the comment and he's like, well, what's in this box, and forgive me for saying it this way because I do like you. I shouldn't say it that way, but this is the way I received it. What's in that box is better than what these people are buying. That's absolutely not true. You're blanket covering anybody on food stamps. Single moms like our mom that wanted good, nutritious food for their children, and she bought everything that she could.
I know the big thing Mom would get was we would do steak and potatoes because you could get a round steak for $1.50 a pound
back when it was affordable.
So we get a can of green beans and a round steak and potatoes, and that's that was our food.
And for snacks, we lived on baby carrots and ranch dressing, and a big giant jar of pickles. That's pretty much like what Leah and I ate growing up.
Yeah.
So our mom did the best that she could with the food stamps that were given her
for a couple of years, or maybe not even a year.
It's not everyone out there. I'm not really pro food stamps. I believe that the churches should be the ones that are.
But here's the thing: what I hate about food pantries is that everybody goes and gets everything expiring, all their shelf stable stuff. Right. If it's shelf stable, you probably shouldn't be eating it unless it's like beans. right? Or wheat or something like that. It's had the life zapped out of it.
If you want these people to come out from the situations that they're in, they need good nutrition. I don't think you guys understand. I'm going to totally turn the show around because I can't against
most churches need to start gardens.
Your gut bacteria affects your brain in a way that you cannot understand. So these foods and the chemicals and the GMOs and the Roundup are killing and harming the gut. And it keeps them stupid.
Right.
It keeps them ignorant. It keeps them unable to be motivated to go out and do stuff. So I can tell you, if we were to give them a CSA box of raw milk, heaven forbid, and raw butter and raw cheese, heaven forbid, take the word raw out there, it's just regular milk, regular butter, regular cheese, fresh vegetables, fresh meats that are pasture raised. And everybody says, that stuff's so expensive. Do you know why it's so expensive? Because it's all the farms have been taken over by feedlots. There's so much land in this world, and especially in America, that these foods could be raised economically, that if we had to feed people, let's give them the best foods. Because when you give them the white flour products, they crave more bad things. You eat at McDonald's, you crave more McDonald's. You eat these sugary Little Debbies, you crave more Little Debbies. That's what you want. But your body knows the nutrition that you need. And I know this for a matter of fact because I don't like, or I didn't historically like, these kind of healthier foods. Our raw milk and even our pastured chicken. Just different things that have an intense amount of nutrients. I didn't like them, but I made myself start eating them, and then guess what? I start craving them because my body goes, nutrients. We haven't had nutrients ever. And I need these nutrients. The pastured raised food will literally change your mind. Now, I hate to sound like Alex Jones here and start bragging, but you know what? I can brag if I want to. Everybody, you guys do this. You leave these comments. You go, how are you girls so smart? Well, we're not. We're just fooling everyone. But let's just take that for a second and say we really are smart. Do you want to know why it is? Besides God, it's the nutrition. It's food. Our lives have dramatically changed over the past decade since we started taking our food into our own hands. Leah can attest to the fact that mixed with God turned me from a ditzy blonde into somebody that can think critically. And I'm telling you, you go to Alex Jones, he wants you to take the Brain Force Max. Go ahead, get the nutrients. But there's really something to changing people based on nutrients. So if you want to actually make a change, instead of keeping these people hooked into the system.
To just keep giving people fish, or do we want to teach them how to fish?
If they were to be given proper nutrients. So I'm all for if you want to regulate and give them a box. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't give them a box. What I'm saying is
the junkiest Big Lots food that's going to cause them to get diabetes.
Because that's what's going to save the 17 million trillion, whatever it was that they said that it was.
I guarantee you what this is going to do, what this is going to come from. This is exactly how food stamps started. Mm-hmm. Food stamps were based on giving people cheaper access to excess food in the U.S. market.
Yep.
So excess bad for you food, excess wheat, excess grain, excess corns, and things like that.
Right.
It was just to try to sell the stuff. So what they're going to try to do is not have you buy nutritious food or anything from the grocery store. They want to give you the stuff that's going to go to Big Lots.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's old and it's expiring. And I bet you that peanut butter is going to have corn syrup in it. It's not going to be natural. It's probably not going to have any maple syrup in it. It's not going to have honey in it. It's not going to have anything nutritious in it.
An episode of some basic things that you guys can know or learn. Just an episode by itself that could get shared about this versus that. Crisco that was originally, I don't know what it's made of now.
It was originally like from cotton seeds, like the leftovers from cotton seeds.
It was, I think, and I'm going to get this story wrong, but it was meant for one thing. And it didn't work out for that.
Whatever for P&G. So they're like, how about we just package it up and make people eat it?
And cotton is not edible. Cotton seed is not something that we should be consuming. It's hydrogenated oil right now, but it was originally cottonseed oil. So I would, in place of the Crisco, if you need
go back to lard.
Go back to lard.
And then they kept saying, oh, lard is bad for you. Lard is bad for you, but Crisco is good for you.
Lard is actually a good fat that your body
recognizes.
It's like, oh, this is something I can utilize,
and I can metabolize it well.
So then I would love to analyze the white flour versus, at the very least, buying wheat flour. We would have you buy Bob's Red Mill if you could. Then we would take it a step further and have you get a grain mill,
because within 3 days the nutrients are zapped.
So what we do is Leah, and I say Leah because I'm lazy.
Just make the flour and I put it in the freezer.
She grinds our wheat
nutrients.
and then we put it in the freezer and we pull it out of the freezer because you have no idea the amount of nutrients that are it leaves, like Leah just said, within 3 days. The nutrients leave.
So we need to wrap this up.
The sugar, hang on, white sugar versus what do we call it? It's like Mazuka something. It's in a green bag. It's pretty cheap.
Just don't get the bleached
just get
sugar.
brown or not brown sugar, but sugar that is not white. So anyway, I want to do an episode on that so you guys can understand the little changes that you could be making in your life that unfortunately do cost a little bit more.
The one thing that I disagree with Republicans who are so stuck on people getting food stamps, well, a lot of these families maybe they get $200 a month in food stamps. And what is that? Maybe it's nothing, okay? It's nothing compared to what people take in public education.
Devonna says, my autistic son stopped eating wheat and he is a different kid. A lot of allergies that we have in today's day and age are from the GMOs and the Monsanto and the Roundup getting on the wheat, which creates wheat allergies.
So every kid that these public school people put in the public school is between 10 to 15, and if you're Washington, D.C., $30,000 a year.
Just to send one child to public school for 1 year.
For 1 year. For 1 year.
Raise your hand if you are a parent in here and you would take 30 grand to educate your child at home.
If you would take 15 or 10 to educate your kid at home.
I think a lot of people would do it for $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Give me the tools to educate. You guys, you can do it for free. They have these online schools. You can do it for free. But seriously, I mean, a single mom could stay home and educate her son on
10 or 15. Well, 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Ours is like 10 or 11, $1,000 a year. So here's the thing. It boggles my mind that people are willing to send their kids to get the public school food stamps. But our mom took food stamps for about a year, but then she homeschooled us for several years. So she saved the government it was like 120,000 grand.
Now. But I love when we shared this, and I'm going to reshare it on my Facebook because it's been a while, but we had a public school teacher that was a friend of ours that commented on this. When we said that our mom saved the government $120,000 by homeschooling us, she came back and said, no, your mom didn't save the government. She cost our local schools money. And here was her logic behind that. Because the local public school gets federal funding for every butt that they put in those seats. And that's why they don't want your kid to be homeschooled. They don't care. It's not even about indoctrinating your kids so much as it is these local public schools just want that state and that federal funding. So we were looking at it as a whole, and all she could do. There's somebody on the wreck out there. All she could do was look at our local public school and said that we cost our public school money by not going to the public school, which actually is really interesting because what she was saying is it doesn't cost the public school $10,000 to raise you. They would have made money on you coming because you're wasting money by it doesn't cost your public school $10,000 to educate you. Okay?
It's a waste of funds.
It is a massive waste of money. So we did, our mom, maybe she took food stamps for a year or so, but she saved so much by homeschooling us. So you could weigh that out there, you know.
It was about $120,000 when I figured it out. And so it's like.
Robin just got a water filter that filters out the fluoride.
There you go.
You will feel more intelligent within a week.
Don't get on people who take food stamps if you send your kids to public school.
True.
You just have to
Can't do it.
Zip because you're costing people way more money than the food stamps. Maybe $100 a month, maybe $1,200, maybe $1,200 in food stamps for food that you need.
Public education is welfare for your child.
It's welfare for children.
And you know what? If you got to take it, you got to take it. Fine, whatever. But let's just not throw stones.
Exactly.
Here, when you're utilizing thousands
and
of
then
thousands,
when you
thousands
take
of dollars,
when you take your kids out of public school, maybe we can talk about food stamps.
Very true. All right. So the last thing I want to do is really fun. Unfortunately, due to the shooting that happened on Valentine's Day.
Aww.
We got a little bit distracted, but I had asked Say Perfect
to make a punny video.
To make a punny Valentine's Day video, which he did. And so this is a belated showing of the Valentine's Day video that Say Perfect did. If you guys are not subscribed to Say Perfect, you will need to do so after I play this video.
What's up, awesome people? Say Perfect here. And I just want to talk to my single brothers and sisters out there that it's okay to be single here on Valentine's Day. It's not lame, and here are the reasons why. Driving a car and you gotta make a right. You turn your right single. I discombobulated a full plate of cookies single-handedly. There are singles literally on the rooftop. If I'm a music producer and I get engaged to a girl, I wouldn't be able to produce my single. Right, there you have it. 4 single reasons why it's cool to be single on Valentine's Day. And no, I did not start YouTube to find me a girl. But hey, the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? A random weird fact, the reason why my face is all shiny, my eyes are sparkling right now is because I had to use the light for my camera because I got home late and I almost didn't film this video. But I did it. Weird fact. So if you're single this Valentine's Day and this video cheered you up, please punch me a like button. And if you're not single for this Valentine's Day, please still give me a like button. Show me some love. It's Valentine's Day, alright? Come on. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you see all my videos coming out as soon as I post them out. And share this video to all your single homies out there. And comment down below what you thought about this video and if you know the true story about Valentine's Day. Tell me in the comments. Alright guys, till next time. Stay bold, never get old. Stay a bad swagger jack, and I'll catch you next video. Single homeboy out.
He's so cute.
Yeah, I know around Christmas time I actually sing Single Bells. Single bells, single bells, single bells rocks. I don't have 2, but I have 1 sock. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I absolutely love
got a
Say
voice.
Perfect.
You need to sing more.
Yeah,
son.
you should be a singler. I made my own fun there. Thank you very much for that. Say Perfect. That was absolutely adorable and fun. So we're gonna. Do we have a song?
Nah, we're gonna sign off tonight.
Are you sure?
Yep.
You don't want to sing?
Not tonight.
Okay. Kelly says my school system here still gets money, even when my children were homeschooled, because I still had to turn in my children's evaluation.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. I'm wondering if you used the public school. And that's the thing. That's why a lot of these public schools don't have a problem with you homeschooling your kid as long as you utilize their at-home electronic. You know, you're in the system. It gives you, I don't know, in Wisconsin, our friend Stacy Rosa Sharon, she said they get like what 20 different options for curriculum. So
it actually saves them money on teachers there,
and it saves them money, and they still get the same amount.
Like, yeah,
they still get 10 grand, and you're homeschooling the kid at home. You know, whatever they get, I don't know. So Sundays, we need a song, says Worth a Look. All right, we will have a song on Sunday where we go live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our European and UK news. We've got some stuff Justin Hughes had also sent us. So thank you guys for being with us. Thanks to our moderators, Maia, Worth a Look, Gary, Kelly. I think Sooks was here for a little while. And I want to thank Chris for being on today. We really appreciated having you on and your wisdom that you have to offer. Oh wait, she said she's got something. She's just kidding.
No, it's just the verses here that was going over and over my head. I didn't have a chance to do like the.
Do you want me to back this
No,
up?
I'll just sing it from the side.
Are you sure?
Why is it every time I bring this one up, it's the.
Oh, Nemo. Let me see something.
Nemo. I don't want you to play. It's me.
Ah! All right, let me see if I can turn the camera here. How's that? Does that work for you?
Yeah. What's behind?
What's behind? The cross behind you. Jesus before you. A world behind you. The cross before you. That's what it is.
Just this little verse is going through my head. I'm thinking about all kinds of craziness going on in the world. And when you don't know what to do and things are crazy in your life, turn your eyes upon Jesus. That's it. That's the answer for all problems all the time. And he'll give you answers, but the things of the earth will grow strangely dim.
Oh yeah, I love this song.
Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light I don't know the rest of it. Is that how it goes?
Probably the same thing. No, I guess it.
I think it's different. I think it's yeah. Sorry, that's why I said I didn't know the verses.
There's verses, and we've never sung them.
No, we've never sung them in church.
Are you serious?
Just only the chorus.
Then sing it again. That can't be at the end.
I know. That's why I was like, "Oh, we're gonna sing it." No, I didn't have a chance to look up the verses. I don't know how they go. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace.
I can't believe you don't know the other verses.
You don't know me.
That's disappointing.
It was just something that was just
really.
You
have anything else now?
No,
the guitar's out. Come on, let's sing a
I
song.
don't have anything.
Let's sing a song.
I don't have anything.
Let's sing one of your songs.
I don't have anything else.
Yeah, you do. Wait, where's your book?
No, I don't have.
Yeah,
anything.
you do.
I don't have anything.
My book. Where's your book?
Michelle always wants to play songs at the end, and I say, "No, Michelle, I'm not playing anything until we practice one through one time." And she says, "Oh, this will be great." And I say, "No, it's not going to be great."
Where's your book?
It's gone.
All right, I know. We're gonna play. Exactly what we're gonna play. We're gonna do it because we can. You don't need it.
What?
Boom. We should have played this the other day, but we did not. This. Do you need this? Do you need this?
Again? Oh, but we should. Okay, yeah.
Do you need these? Can we take this out?
No, I don't need it.
Dog hair. All right, so I want to give you guys a little backstory. This song is called "We Will Not Be Found in Last Place." We wrote this after the Columbine shooting because those kids were made fun of. And this is, I believe, hands down, the
Christians actually made fun of them. They had a really hard time. And
most powerful song that we have in our repertoire. And we try not to play it too much, but because we didn't get a chance to play it the other day, we're going to do it again.
So it's about what would happen if, like, kids who were really broken, and instead of shooting things up, they turned to Jesus, right?
And I also take this now where we are on the world stage. This is how we need to feel against the George Soroses, against the deep state, against the tyranny, against them wanting to take our guns, against the public schools themselves. So this is a rallying cry song.
Got a D on a paper today. What will her parents say? Oh, she had studied all night, but somehow she just couldn't concentrate. Oh, she was curled up next to her locker, crying about the days of end. She was ridiculed and housed down by the very girl she thought to be her friends. It was a cruel joke in the coldest of places. The lunchroom today, they spat milk in her face. They laughed and poked fun, oh, they teased and sneered. It had come upon her what she'd always feared. She was a nerd and an outcast. The title was fear. She spent the next 4 years just trying to fit in the mix.
We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We have power through the Holy One, and our fight has simply just begun. We got power through the Holy One, and our fight has simply just begun. So purpose, here we come, sided with God's only, His only. So sided with God's only Son, moving from His own hometown. It was hard enough, but now he'd have to find a way to deal with this big bully stuff. He wasn't a nerd and he wasn't weird, but hey, he wasn't very tall in his high school years. He was shoved and he was pushed around. Those big guys gave him wedgies that lifted him off the ground. It wasn't funny, he had to fight back tears. The pain was real and it had lasted for years. While me, he'd cry in the night. When will there be someone just to stand up and fight? We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We have power through the Holy One, and our fight has simply just begun. Look at what the Holy One and our fight has only just begun. So here we come, sided with God's only, His only. So sided with God's only Son. Got a D on her paper today. What will her parents say? She had studied a whole night, but somehow she just couldn't concentrate. She was curled up next to her locker, crying about the days of them. She was ridiculed and out by the very girl she thought to be her friend. It was a cruel joke in the coldest of places. Come upon her what she always feared. She was a nerd and an outcast. The title was fixed. She spent next 4 years just trying to fit in the mix. We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We have power through the Holy One, and our fight has simply just begun. Look at power through the Holy One, and our fight has only just begun. So look our world goes, here we come, sided with God's only, His only. So sided with God's only Son. Hard enough, but now he'd have to find a way to deal with this big bully stuff. He wasn't a nerd and he wasn't weird, but hey, he wasn't very tall in his high school years. He was shoved and he was pushed around. Those big guys gave him wedgies and lifted him off the ground. It wasn't funny, he had to fight back tears. It was real and it had lasted for years. Why me? He cried in the night. When will there be someone just to stand up and fight? We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We have power through the Holy One, and our fight has simply just begun. Oh, look our world goes, here we come, sided with God's only, His only Son. Sided with God's only Son. Why me? He cried in the night. When will there be someone just to stand up and fight? Why me? He cried in the night. When will there be someone just to stand up and fight? We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We will not be found in last place. We will rise up and meet you face to face. We have power through the Holy One, and our fight has simply just begun. Oh, look at world goes, here we come, sided with God's only, His only face. All right, so yeah, Sydney decided that she really likes that song.
I want to sing this song with you.
I was trying to move the mic so that it would be closer to you, but every time I did, it was covering up your face in the shot. But so yeah, that song is really, really powerful. Whenever I sing it, I'm taken back to my time in school. And like Chris Holman said, like he would stand up for the underdog. And I think a lot of you guys stood up for the underdog, but a lot of you guys probably were the underdog. I would be ashamed if we had anybody that was the bully, but if you've repented since then all right. But seriously, we need to be standing up for the weak. And it's a kind of rallying cry song like this that I think the attitude behind it is what we should be emulating. It's what we should be putting forth. Sweet Speaks wants to know, what is the name of your mic? It's called it's the Blue Snowball. I got it on Amazon because it had excellent reviews and it was within our price range. So I'm glad we actually did sing a song at the end. Yeah. You have to stand here because this is where we're.
Oh, hi.
Like this.
Making my way in.
No,
making my way
around. No, that's
good.
Stand there, come in close there, because otherwise you're shadowed.
Well, please like, comment, and subscribe
to Mass Bay 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring that bell for notifications. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Chris Holman and Stay Perfect.
We have a P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Waiting. Waiting, 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 waiting on Almighty. Wait on the Lord and He will give you strength. Wait on the Lord and He will give you strength. Oh, wait on the Lord and He will give you strength. Wait, I say, on the Lord and on Michelle.
Okay, well,
waiting.
Marlene Allen sent us a card today, and
Marlene.
I think I might have accidentally. I thought I brought it in. I think I might have left it in the
car.
All right, so we'll get to that on Sunday.
Okay.
All right, you guys, we love you. Thank you all for being here.
See you Sunday at 1.
See you Sunday at 1. God bless. Oops, that's not what I wanted.
Just stay around. We're ready.
I was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid, but you called my name.